Hello, everyone, and welcome
No
to
way.
the stream. Looks like Tom and I
No
had the
way.
exact same idea.
Wow.
Welcome to the Roller Coaster Rodeo recap stream. We have 4 people here. I'm going to let everyone introduce themselves right now, starting with Tom. Go ahead, Tom.
Well, howdy, y'all. Tom from Tom's Tracks 99. You can follow me on Instagram right there. That's where you can do it.
And then we have our resident Texan, Darius.
Hey, I live here. One of my kids was born here, but I'm still not a Texan officially. I'm still a New Jersey guy. I got a 973 area code on my phone. Coaster Jones here. I still want to know why Tom got to go first and not Bob. I'm just trying to start a little bit.
On my screen, Tom's right next to Colin, so.
Okay, I'll let it slide. And I did not wear my shirt. I can't find it.
Bob.
I'm Bob for BK Photo Page on all the social media networks.
So, like I said, all of us went to Roller Coaster Rodeo. There were a few others that joined us as well. Gabe, who cannot be on the stream right now. We have my dad, who also is choosing to watch House of the Dragon as opposed to being on the stream. We also had James, Nicole, and many others, Zach, all of whom were at Roller Coaster Rodeo with us. And it was a phenomenal event. I think I speak for everyone when I say it was probably the best roller coaster event we've ever done. I mean, it was mind-blowing just how great it really was. So all of us hit the same parks except for Bob. He did a few extra, but we'll talk about that a little later. So we're going to go through each park we hit on the trip and just kind of give our general thoughts on it. I do want to apologize that the content has been a little slower than I would like it to be. It's just very difficult to get caught up on all this Texas content with a lot of stuff that's been going on in my personal life. Just graduated high school, among other things. So lots of stuff going on. Thank you. Appreciate it. So the first park we are going to discuss is ZDT's, probably the strangest park we got to visit. I enjoyed it, though. I thought it was a really cool park. So I'm going to let you guys talk on it first. Whoever wants to go first, go right ahead.
I didn't go there this time, but I've been there, and it's very, very quirky and weird.
So listen, I live here. It's definitely a quirky park. There's a lot of quirky things in Texas. That would be one of them. It's in the middle of nowhere. Some of the nicest people you're ever going to meet. Best thing there is Switchback. It's almost as if, I think you and I talked about it, Colin. It's almost as if someone took Air Force One and a little bit of El Toro and a little bit of Coney Island Cyclone and got crazy, right? Like the metal structure of Air Force One, the very tight turns that are implemented in El Toro, and then kind of the quirkiness and feeling of like out of control that the Coney Island Cyclone has. So that's it. If you're ever in Texas, specifically San Antonio or Austin area, making it to ZDT's is a must.
Definitely. And Tom?
Yeah, I loved Switchback. It was nothing like I've experienced before, so it goes off the chart on the uniqueness scale. And the other special mention I have about ZDT was the free arcade games. So if anyone ever goes to ZDT, I challenge you to try to best my score on Expert on Guitar Hero, on Quizadova on Expert. I currently hold number 3, so
we'll get back to that when it comes to SeaWorld.
Yeah, someone come get my record. Yeah, SeaWorld did not have a functioning Guitar Hero, unfortunately, but at least they had one. I don't know. But fun times.
And I would be remiss if I didn't wish all the fathers out there a happy Father's Day, because today, of course, is Father's Day. So happy Father's Day to all of you dads out there. And as for my thoughts on ZDT's, I knew going in it would be an odd park. I kind of was surprised by how nice it was in terms of like the guests and the employees. They were all very friendly and kind, which at a park of that scale out here, you would not get that at all. The employees would be much more miserable and the guests would be pretty unbearable. But out there in Texas, everyone's much more friendly, which I appreciated. The employees were very kind. They let us re-ride as many times as we wanted without having to leave the station, which I thought was really nice. And the team there was really nice as well for letting me film. They checked the gear real quick and then gave us the all clear, which I really appreciated as well. And like they said, definitely a worthy stop if you're going to San Antonio for Fiesta Texas or SeaWorld. I would definitely shoot up there for an hour or so to check out Switchback. It's not very expensive and it's a fun little ride. So with ZDT's out of the way, we're going to go to SeaWorld San Antonio, which I definitely have my opinions on, but I'll let you guys start off. So the way we did this was myself and Darius, as well as my dad, were all there. at the same time. And then Tom and Bob, along with Gabe, were there at the same time. So Tom and Bob, how did your experience go at
Yeah,
SeaWorld?
we went the first day I was in town, which was Thursday. It was pretty hot. I had been there before, obviously, so we were chasing credits for those guys. Although I didn't have Journey to Atlantis or Stingray yet. I mean, other than the just being ridiculously hot, I thought it was a pretty good day. I mean, we got to ride Stingray a bunch of times. There was no lines, just like I think when you went, there was barely any lines either. And it by the end of a 105-degree day, it was just flying through the course when we went on it later in the day too. So we had a pretty good day there. The park itself, it's just, even now, even after adding a bunch of stuff since the last time I was there 6 years ago, there's still like massive amounts of open land with nothingness there, and it's a big park with like lots of spots of nothing.
Yeah, I'd like to see them fill out that space a little bit, but overall, it was really fun. Stingray was the highlight for me, and I really liked what electric eel, right? That's what they call
Steel
it.
Eel.
Steel
Eel.
They're all some kind of eel variant, but and I thought that one was pretty fun too. And then we got to catch some of the shows as well, which those were great. They were kind of doing like a pass holder preview, so we didn't stay for all of them because the heat was just that miserable. But the few shows we saw were great, and we even recognized some of the performers from some of Great Adventures old shows. So I guess they hire from the same place. So hats off to them. It was good. All of it was pretty good.
Listen, I live here, and the last time I went to that park, I feel the same way. Like, it's a great park to take kids to. A little unknown fact: everyone who joins the Air Force as an enlisted person comes through San Antonio. It's the single training facility for enlisted, and so there's a lot of people who come straight out of Airman Basic and bring their families to SeaWorld. So it's a delight to have the park, but in terms of roller coaster aficionados, like, it's mediocre at best. There's a lot of, I would say, I'd agree, lots of empty space, lots of unused space, and I just think they're struggling to find their groove. Steel Eel, I think, is an interesting coaster. I think, one interesting fact that we can talk about later, in terms of Batman clones, they probably have one of the best Batman clones. So that's a reason to go to the park in and of itself. And you get to do something that you can't do, to my knowledge, anywhere else on the planet, which is ride 2 Batman clones in basically a half hour. You can get to Fiesta, Texas in about 15 minutes, get in the parking lot, and the first ride there is another Batman clone. So I think for that alone, SeaWorld's worth the visit. But like, if you've been there once, I'd say in the next 5 years, you've been there enough.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I got the chance to visit SeaWorld for the first time back in 2020, which was the same with Over Texas and Fiesta Texas as well. And the park really didn't feel very different at all from when I visited in 2020. The main reason we even went back was because I had a missing credit there, being Great White, which was closed for the stupidest reason in 2020. But I'm glad I got on it this time. It was a really, really great Batman clone. Texas Stingray got a lot better with age. When I first rode it in 2020, it was good, not necessarily like upper tier GCI by any means. But this time around, it blew my mind how fast it was running. Definitely a lot better. Then you have Steel Eel, which just tries to break your back if you're sitting in the back row. It is brutal on those airtime hills in the first half. The way you slam back into your seat, very painful. You don't really get that on the other Morgan coasters. And like Darius and them were saying, the rest of the park is just way too empty. By the time we were getting ready to leave, I found myself pretty miserable just because, for one, there's not much shade, which when you're at a park in Texas, not having shade is a crime. I mean, it gets really, really hot there, and you're just walking really long distances to get from ride to ride because there's a lot of empty space. There's nothing in between the rides for the most part. Even trying to find places to eat was very difficult because even if there were places to eat in certain spots, they were probably closed. So you really had to search to find anything. Even drinks were definitely a bit of a struggle. But I kind of have these feelings about all the SeaWorld parks. The SeaWorld Orlando location is definitely the least of it, but San Diego and San Antonio, I just feel like they don't really have enough to do. San Antonio more so. They don't even have that many shows. I mean, just walking around, I really didn't find much to do at all. So SeaWorld is probably my least favorite out of all the different parks that we visited other than ZDTs because it doesn't really count. I mean, we still had a good time getting on some good coasters, but by the time we were getting ready to leave, I was so ready to just go back to Fiesta, Texas, which is a good segue into our next talking point, which is the main event of our trip, roller
Wait,
coaster
Colin.
rodeo, Fiesta, Texas.
I'm not going to let you go to Fiesta, Texas without addressing SeaWorld's ridiculous bag policy.
Oh yeah, that's one of Darius's favorites. Let's hear it.
So these guys you walk on, and for those of you who don't know, I'm a diabetic, so I'm always carrying like supplies, but I don't like to like advertise it. And so I had a satchel. Some people call it a fanny pack. I call it a satchel. I have my satchel with me, and they're letting people put like size 15 shoes in cubbies, and they won't let me put my little bag in a cubby because it had straps and it could go around my waist. So I take the straps off just to see what would happen. And then they're like, you have to go put that in a locker. It's just a nonsensical bag policy because they will let someone who has a purse put their bag there. They'll let someone put shoes there, but they won't let someone put a fanny pack or a satchel there. Still confused by it, but Colin got to witness it firsthand and started, taking up my my issue as well. So anyway,
It was
if
pretty
you go there,
unbelievable.
yeah.
There's just not much sense behind that rule, and I don't know if that's the case at all the SeaWorld parks, but can't explain it. Anyways, though, moving on to Fiesta, Texas, which was easily the best time of the trip. The 3 days we spent, well, really a total of 2 because we spent kind of half a day on Friday, half a day on Sunday. So really a total of 2 days. It was fantastic. So I'm going to kind of go through the event itinerary from start to finish. Then we'll talk about what we liked the most and all the great things we did. So first on Friday morning was the first set of lift walks. Myself, Darius, my dad did the Dr. Diabolical lift walk. Tom and Gabe did the mid-course walk on Dr. Diabolical, and the views up there.
I managed to be the first person in line, thinking there was going to be a line, and I was the only one there to get my stuff at 8 o'clock in the morning. So,
yep, that too. And it was really cool because they actually gave all 3 of the posters out on day 1 instead of making you come back to guest relations each day, which I think was a really good decision. It would have been kind of a pain in the neck to carry posters around each day. So they gave all 3 of them on the first day, which was a good move. Then after that, that was the day we went to SeaWorld because there's kind of a gap in the schedule from the morning to the night. But once you got to the night, you had the welcome reception where Jeffrey Siebert, the park president, along with Jeff Filippo and Jorge, all spoke and kind of welcomed everyone to the event. There was a bit of a presentation. Then we got to watch their show, Forever Hollywood, which I actually thought was really cool.
it's really good.
It pretty much went through a bunch of iconic movie, not movie scenes, but music from movies and kind of acted them out and went from all the different genres of movies, all the different time periods. It was a really well done
It's
performance.
long, too. It was like 40 minutes.
Very long, yeah. I thought it was never going to end, but it was something you wouldn't expect to see at a Six Flags park, which I appreciated. Then after that, that was when there was no tours. Is that when ERT started immediately?
I think that night was the Fright Fest.
No, we had the Superman walk back.
Right, we had the
the
Superman
Superman
walk back
infield
right
tour.
after that. So that was probably one of the coolest tours I've ever done because they just let you walk wherever
Yeah,
you
they were
want.
just go.
Yeah, so there were people walking all the way to Wonder Woman. There was people going all the way down to the Zero G roll and that kind of helix on the top of the quarry. That entire area was open to us, and the coaster was closed, but they kept running it for us, which I thought was fantastic. The park wound up closing, I think, at 6 that day, and the fact that they just kept running that over and over and over again, so cool. Most parks would just keep the ride closed and not run it, but Fiesta Texas went above and beyond. And after that was when we had the nighttime ERT inside of all of Crack Axle Canyon. And what they did was they opened 2 of the Fright Fest mazes inside that area, and they had the whole reception where they have the train come in with all the ghouls on it, which I presume they do for every Fright Fest night. Darius would probably know.
Yep.
And that was absolutely fantastic. They had Dr. Diabolical up on the top of the roof yelling at all of us, giving a speech. And then all hell broke loose. They opened Dr. Diabolical, Roadrunner, Iron Rattler, Daredevil Dive, and the 2 haunted mazes, which were both really, really good. And
The
one
one
of
they're
them,
taking down, it was amazing. And
yeah, the one that they're getting rid of was really good. But if I had to guess, they're probably replacing it with something IP related, maybe Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yeah. But that night of ERT was great. We got so many rides on Iron Rattler, and I believe there was around 700 people at the event. Correct, something like that.
Yeah, I heard about like 750-ish.
And even though there were that many people, everyone spread out pretty well. I didn't find myself waiting in pretty much any lines during the ERT. It worked out perfectly. And that night was really, really great. They also gave out free drinks to those of you over 21, which I know you guys definitely enjoyed. I, of course, could not yet.
Pretzel
But
nuggets, everything.
Churro bites were very good.
lots of great snacks for us as well. And I should also mention they had these giant coolers of water all over the place for us with full water bottles to make sure we never got dehydrated. It was all 3 days. Really, really great to see that. So the next day we got up bright and early at, I want to say, what, 8:30? Yeah, 8:30.
8:30 was the start, yeah.
The Rodeo breakfast where they had pancakes, bacon, sausage, biscuits, among other things, and drinks as well, which personally I can't think of any theme park event that has ever given out a breakfast during an event, which I think is really cool. I would like to see more parks do that. And then after that was when we had the DC area ERT, which was cool. Definitely not like the best ERT, but all things considered, it gave me the opportunity to ride rides I probably wouldn't have ridden.
We
got
did
to
ride. We forgot. We rode Kid Flash on Friday night, didn't we?
We
Yes,
did
we did.
ride Flash.
That was an interesting ride. I love the lighting. The lighting looks fantastic, but the ride itself, I mean, it's a good kiddie coaster. It just has this really strange rattle, and it's not like a painful rattle. It's just like this constant shakiness throughout the entire ride. I couldn't really figure out why it had that, but it was a fun ride. Then, like I was saying, the DC Universe ERT, we got to ride Supergirl, which is their Star Flyer, and I really like that one because it's right next to the quarry wall, so you get very different views than you would
Wait,
on any
Colin,
other.
you missed something.
Uh-oh, what did I miss?
We got to walk through the train tunnel.
We did walk through the train tunnel.
In between Superman's infield tour and the ERT in Crack Axle Canyon Friday night, we got to walk through the train tunnel, which I don't think it's ever happened before, right?
Never
happened before.
I've never been in the infield for Superman with trains running. I've never been on the tracks through the tunnel.
Lots of firsts that they did for this event. They really pulled out everything.
I was
But-
thinking about it
yeah,
earlier, though. It's like this is one of the very few events ever that I've been to where the park president was the planner of it, though. So he had pretty
Yeah.
much free range to do whatever he was allowed to do, whatever he wanted to do, versus these other events that are usually planned by people within the park that are at the whim of, the safety people and the rides people and blah, blah, blah. So that's one of the other things that makes it awesome.
Yeah, Jeffrey really just went all out, and he is, of course, a coaster enthusiast.
And he
So
was there the
wanted to
whole
make
time
this-
talking to everybody.
Yes,
Yes, he was
I didn't see him
so-
leave once.
Yeah.
So really, props to Jeffrey Sieber, along with everyone else who was involved from marketing, PR, everyone that put the event together. They really went all out. It was fantastic. But like I was saying, the DC ERT, we also got to ride Joker Carnival of Chaos, which is just a giant discovery, but it has this really unique queue where you kind of walk through a funhouse, and you guys will see it in the vlog when it comes out, where each room is dedicated to a different Batman villain. So you had like the Mr. Freeze room, the Poison Ivy room, among others. And it was so cool. And Tom and I kept noticing that a lot of the Joker dialogue lines, they were recycling from the Justice League rides. And they also used the Justice League music as ambient music around Batman, which was really kind of weird for us. Of course, riding Justice League: A Great Adventure all the time and hearing all those dialogue lines definitely kind of caught us off guard. But
It was
something
still
interesting
probably
about there.
it was the most extra queue that I've ever seen for a giant discovery, but honestly, it made the experience that much better. Like, I wish other ones of those had something like that because it was so unique.
Honestly, the queue is almost better than the ride, and I really like those rides too.
Yeah.
The queue is unbelievable. And something interesting about that ride in particular is that it doesn't spin the same way like Wonder Woman at Great Adventure does. And Gabe picked up on this as we were riding it. It would be spinning one way and then out of nowhere stop and spin the other way, and just kept doing that back and forth. And it was really, really strange. Like, I've never seen one of those rides do that before. So maybe they just wanted to make it a little different because it's Joker, but hey, it was pretty cool.
Hey,
They
you guys picked up on something which, for Six Flags parks, if you think of like Magic Mountain in its heyday, they put some theming out there, but like nothing excessive. But when you think of Joker, Dr. Diabolical, Poltergeist, all of those, I mean, even Iron Rattler has like a backstory with like trucks and cars and like Chase the Snake. Like, all of their rides, they're starting to get like exceptionally themed. not quite Disney level, but definitely not Six Flags typical. And I think that's one thing that sets this park, besides having one of the best park presidents I know of, if not the best, really starts to set this park apart.
100%. I mean, I've been saying this ever since I first visited in 2020, and it's only gotten better since then. This park is so different from the rest of the Six Flags parks. It's unbelievable that they're able to do what they can do here, and they don't do it at the other parks. I mean, to me, it's definitely coming from the fact that they have Jeffrey Siebert as their park president. I mean, his vision for the park is unlike anything else I've seen from other parks. And believe me, I love other parks too, like Great Adventure, Magic Mountain over Texas. They're all really great parks, but none of them compare to what they're doing at Fiesta right now. But after all that ERT, we also rode Kid Flash once, and that is when what happened then?
I don't know,
believe
but
we went and rode the water ride, right?
Kid Flash might have wound up being one of our most ridden rides on the trip, like just in like amount of times we went through. I think just
It
because
wasn't on
of
purpose either. It just
no,
kinda
yeah,
happened
because
that
at
way.
different points people needed the credit. We're like, okay, we might as well also ride it. So kind of ironically, it became ironically and unconsciously became one of our most ridden rides.
Yeah. After the DC ERT, I believe we went and rode Gully Washer, which is their rapids ride. And that was actually a really cool rapids ride because it's got a really long and windy queue, and the setting of it was really, really cool. And it got you pretty wet, which I thought was great, of course, especially in that Texas heat. After that, I believe we went and rode Bugs Whitewater Rapids, and
We
I
did.
love that mod flume. That has always been one of my favorites, and I love the fact that they use the Looney Tunes IP, but they don't just like throw it on the ride without any rhyme or reason, because it's in the Spassberg section, which is German themed, and they had this whole integration with like knights and things. I believe either Darius or my dad was telling me that it's from an actual Looney Tunes cartoon.
is.
Yeah, that's right. And
Look up Nighty Night Bugs. Yeah,
99 bucks. Yep.
Nighty Night Bugs.
very niche theme, but it works perfectly, and the ride was very popular as well. And that was when I decided to what?
It was another great queue too.
Yeah, the queue was really, really good. We couldn't find the Flash Pass entrance, so we just walked through the main queue, which I forgot to mention, the Rodeo badge gave you free Flash Pass for the entire weekend across both Fiesta, Texas, and Hurricane Harbor. That right there.
The boots.
Unbelievable. I've never seen a park do something like that before.
And it came on its own exclusive lanyard, kind of like
Yep.
in the same style as the ones they just sell at the gift shop with the coasters. It even has the little Six Flags charm on it.
They really went all out. I was mind blown. But when we rode Bugs, that's when I decided to get their all day photo and video pass like I had for Great Adventure, and works just as well as that one, if not a little better. I really do like the way they have their video set up, especially compared to Great Adventure. The one on Bugs especially was really cool because it actually showed you going down the whole drop, which I thought was nice. After that, I believe we had some shenanigans at Johnny Rockets where we decided to wait until after the first tour to eat. If I'm not mistaken, the first tour was the DC construction tour, right?
Yes, and then I think to get lunch and get our own separate rides, we skipped out on the tour of the
The
theater.
Saratoga Theater, yeah.
Yes.
So we did the DC construction tour, and that was actually really cool to kind of just walk in there like that. They're definitely running a little bit behind. I believe the shipments are a little delayed from Zamperla, but it looks like they just got some of the shipments in now because I saw on Jeffrey's Instagram. But the area itself is definitely really cool. It's a nice kind of like little kids area, but all themed to DC, which I think we definitely need more of if they're going to throw DC themes all over the place. Why not make some kiddie areas themed to DC, because kids love superheroes. But they have Shazam, they have Cyborg, and they have the monorail, which everyone's very excited about. And Jeffrey was kind of explaining to us that they're opening the area in stages. So the first stage had Supergirl along with Kid Flash, of course. Then they're going to have Green Lantern and just keep moving the construction fence back and back and back until the entire area is open. So that did mean that their kiddie coaster, Streamliner coaster, or as it's now going to be known, Batgirl, was closed. I thankfully already had the credit, but Tom, I guess you'll just have to go back later to get that.
That and Wonder Woman I'll need to go back
Yes,
for.
Wonder Woman, which we'll get to a little bit later because there was some interesting stuff with that as well. But after the tour, that's when we left and got food at, what was that place called? Something E. Was it just Big E's? I forget.
Big
Over
E.
by the boardwalk and Poltergeist.
I cannot remember.
Oh, the diner?
The
Yeah, the
diner.
diner.
Guys.
Yeah, I forget the name of that place.
I can't
Was that
remember it
the
either.
blue
for some
building?
reason. Yeah.
the hell was that? What was it called?
Right next to Poltergeist. I remember it being right next to
maybe.
the entrance.
That we walked past like 50 times.
As if I don't have like a giant stack of park maps right next to me and I could just go look.
Well, while you're looking, I'll continue through our day. We had food
Yes.
there, which was actually pretty good. And something else I've kind of forgotten to mention so far that I love because I happen to love Pibb soda. That is like my favorite soda, and they don't have it up here in Jersey. All over the place in Texas. You can get it everywhere, which was really nice. Definitely loaded up on that when I wasn't drinking Powerade or water.
Pete's Eats. Someone
Pete's
just
Eats.
dropped
I
it
knew
in
it
the
was
chat.
something.
Thank you.
Yeah, Pete's
Thank you,
Eats.
Jay
Yeah.
Kite.
That's right. So after we ate there, is that when we went and rode Pandemonium?
We did. I think that was pretty.
Oh.
We might have rode
No.
Pirates first, which was a
Yeah.
very
No,
good
Pirates
ride.
was later in the
No,
day.
because I was there for
Okay.
Pirates. I was in my car sleeping during Pandemonium, but then I got the text and I ran back there to see you guys.
Yep.
So we went and rode Pandemonium because Tom was still missing the credit. We all decided to ride it. It was myself and Tom in one car. Then in the next car back was Gabe and Lori. And then the car after that was James, Nicole, and my dad. So Tom and I, we went through the whole course, had a nice ride. We got to the brake run. And when you get to the block right before the station, there's this kind of arm that comes and pushes your car into a forwards position so that's not sideways or still spinning. And it kept trying and then bouncing, trying and then
We
bouncing.
were stuck perpendicular to the track.
Exactly. So we were stuck there, and I figured, eventually it would get us, and it never did. So Gabe and Lori got stuck on the block behind us, and they were just spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning endlessly. My dad's car got stuck on the block right after the lift hill, where you go through the first set of turns and then stop at the mid-course. They were stuck there, spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning. The spinning just kept going until they eventually lost momentum, and the maintenance guy had to come, and this was like 10, 15 minutes after the fact, but we were okay because we did have our drinks, since at that park on Pandemonium, they do force you to bring your drinks on the ride, which I remember being really weird in 2020, and it was even weirder now, but kind of worked out in our favor. And the guy had to literally come and just push it into the place because the thing just was not working. So we got put into the right position, but got advanced and still weren't off. They got advanced, finally stopped spinning, and after a pretty long time, we eventually all got off. I believe their car and the other car had to be evacuated, if I remember correctly. They had to break
Yeah,
out the battery
we were
pack.
able to just get back into the station, but then eventually they were able to run the other cars through, but they all kept stacking at the end, and that's when they got evac'd.
Yes, exactly. So eventually we did get off, and we barely made the next tour of the day, which was the maintenance tour behind the whole backstage area of the park, plus Pandemonium and Wonder Woman. And this was a really, really cool tour. First, we kind of gathered in the picnic grove by Goliath and kind of did a conga line through the entire thing, single file. We got to see Iron Rattlers. I believe it was their second train because they have 3, so that was train 2 that was off in maintenance. We got to see some signs. We got to see some statues that were being worked on for DC Universe. Whole bunch of really cool stuff backstage. And eventually we made it over towards Pandemonium and Wonder Woman. When we got to Wonder Woman, Jeffrey ran in there to tell him to keep cycling and make sure we could go in. And after we got some great shots of Wonder Woman running, and they just kept running it and running it and running it with the singular train, we got to walk into the station and kind of see what RMC was doing in reprogramming the ride. There's also, I can't remember the name of the company that actually does the programming. It starts with an I. I cannot
Are you
remember.
talking about Irvine Andre?
Irvine Andre. Yep, you got it. They were there as well, and they were kind of talking to us, telling us what's going on and everything. I know Jeffrey was definitely trying to get the ride open for us. Unfortunately, just couldn't happen. So the ride will make its grand re-debut on July 1st, and they do have all the trains there. They were only cycling the one, but this is just coming from
It was
RMC.
very
They have
quiet.
trains. It was much quieter.
That's what we
sounded
noticed.
much smoother.
So quiet.
And the repaint made it look really, really nice. When I rode it in 2020, it was pretty rough. I'm not going to lie, but it was running super fast. And I was worried with these new trains that it wasn't going to run as fast. But it was absolutely flying through the course still, which definitely makes me happy. So after we got to get some great views there, we left, got some ice cream at the place right next to it. Unfortunately, they were out of blue. And then my ice cream cone collapsed all over me, and it was a whole debacle. But after that, I'm kind of blanking on what we did after that.
Well, you took the time out of your day to go on that kid's vlog. You
Right.
Spent time with that young man who was really excited to meet his hero Colin.
Yes, and then after that, we went and did Pirates. Am I correct?
Yeah, sure.
I believe that's what we did.
That
We
was
did Pirates.
That was an experience.
It was, because earlier on, I forgot to mention it, we got to walk through it with the lights on.
That was
And
pretty cool.
it was, because it was originally a Scooby-Doo themed ride, so you could see, like, the maintenance guy was pointing out to us, like, the animatronic that used to be Shaggy, and you could definitely see the shaping resembled Shaggy for sure. And getting to ride it was cool. Very difficult because the lasers weren't too accurate, but, I mean, that's kind of the case with any shooting ride at a Six Flags park. You know what you're getting into. Still fun nonetheless. Then after that, I believe that's when we started making our
I'm
way.
going to interrupt you because you
Okay.
talked about not having ice cream blue. What else did you discover in Texas?
What else did I discover in Texas?
Frozen drink.
Oh my God! Wait, it's the Froster, not the freezer. The Froster,
The Circle K Froster.
the
I
best
did not have one of those.
Slurpee variant I have ever had in my life. You go to 7-Eleven, get a Slurpee or Quick Check or Wawa. You know, they're fine. They're not the greatest. But when you go to Circle K and you get one of those, a Froster, orange and cream, grape, whatever flavor you get, it is delicious because unlike other Slurpees where you wind up sucking all the flavor out and then you just have like a mush of ice at the bottom, the consistency is perfect in these. So I think we stopped, like 2 or 3 times to get them because Darius hooked me. They were delicious. It was unbelievable. I wish they had them at Buc-ee's because that would make Buc-ee's even better than it already is.
Yeah,
But
they have their own variant, but it's definitely not a Froster.
No, it's not a Froster, that's for sure. But after we did Pirates, I think that's when we started to make our way towards the fireworks area, unless I'm forgetting something. Oh, wait, I am forgetting something. The Rodeo Rivalry games. How could I forget
Yeah,
those?
we remember we got in line for the Pirates thing, and then we went, oh crap, we got to get over there for the rivalry games thing, which we all crapped the bet on hard.
Yeah, we did terrible.
Well, don't speak for us.
Especially
Well,
me.
none of us came remotely.
I almost lassoed the thing, but I did the same thing Phil did, and I screwed it up, and I almost knocked Jeff off, and I missed it by like an inch.
I think we got into the 190s. Our team was me, Lori, Gabe, and then oh geez, I'm forgetting. We got a 4th person paired with us, but we got into the 190s and we're like, okay, that should be pretty good. And then they're like, in 3rd place with a score of 2 something. I'm like, oh no.
And then the 2 little kids and their dad won.
I thought we had a pretty strong chance there, but that ended quickly.
Darius,
And the prizes were awesome.
They were good prizes.
It was fun though.
I know.
It was a lot of fun.
It was fun. It was different. You know, broke up the day really nice.
Mhm.
I'm tempted to like take like roping lessons though, like for next year.
When we go back next year, we can maybe have a chance. But yeah, they had like a lasso game where you had to lasso with this rope and get it on the bull's horns. You had to have this bullseye game where you threw these balls that had Velcro on them at a target. That happened to be my best thing by far. I got
That was
bullseye
our best thing too.
The horseshoe was pretty
super-
easy.
Yeah, the horseshoe was super easy.
stupid easy, but like in
That's
real,
where
horseshoes,
everyone got
horseshoes, you have to flip it though.
Yes, Park Paradise showed us a great method where he literally just took it and threw it straight on, and
Yeah,
everyone
we saw
got
a bunch
it.
of people doing that before us too.
Yeah, it worked perfectly. We all got that. What else was there? There was the skee
Skee
ball
ball.
game, and of course the dunk tank with Jeffrey Siebert, which was definitely the coolest thing. Unfortunately,
None of
we all
us
missed.
dunked him, right?
So
I
I
think
saw
any
some
of us-
people dunk them.
No, but I'm saying like in our group, like of everybody who was there, like with us, like nobody dunked him, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
We came close in some capacities, but couldn't do it. The Rodeo Rivalry Games grand prize was actually super cool. It was this massive belt buckle that had the Roller Coaster Rodeo logo in the center. I was really hoping I would win it, but unfortunately wasn't enough of a cowboy to make that one happen. But
I'm
after
hoping they
that-
offer that for sale next
Yes, that thing is awesome. They have these shirts for sale, which we're all wearing except for Darius because he couldn't find it. But on the back, I'm not gonna get up, but it has the
Huge.
Roller Coaster
Here,
Rodeo
I'll
logo
turn
on it.
around. Here, let's see.
There you go.
year. The buckle is that logo on the front, sort of,
And it's like
Yeah.
this big though. It's massive.
and it's enamel. So like,
Yes.
and every year they do the same thing, but they put the year in. I'm hoping they like don't put the year in and just put Roller Coaster Rodeo. And I will, Jeffrey, if you're listening, I think you have at least 4 buyers. At least
You
4.
probably do.
You should have
But
invited
it's
him here
almost like
tonight.
a WWE
Colin.
belt. What was that, Bob?
You should have invited him as a guest.
I was meaning to, and then the fact that it's Father's Day, and I kind of organized this last second. I definitely wanted to, but I'll invite him on a later one.
We
for
do
sure.
tend to do these streams on holidays, don't we?
I try to do them on Sunday nights usually, and just happened to be that
All the
today was
holidays are
Father's
on
Day.
Sundays.
Yeah, but after that they had the dinner, which I wound up leaving because I wasn't really hungry. I wanted to eat something else anyway. I wound up riding a whole bunch of different rides, but for you guys that stayed there, how was the dinner?
It was really good. I
It
mean,
was
I was
good,
also
yeah.
very hungry at that point, and so it didn't disappoint. I really liked the creamed corn. That was very nice.
Yeah, the barbecue brisket was good.
Hmm.
They also had a lot of the Looney Tunes characters there as well. Some that I haven't seen in a while. They had Taz, correct? Didn't they have what's his
Marvin
name?
the Martian was
Marvin
there.
Martin, yeah. It's a very
Marvin the Martian and K9 used to be a great adventure literally all the time. Like, it was such a safe bet to see them maybe like even 5 or so years ago-ish. Oh, no, not even. More than that now. Geez. But it was nice to see Marvin because he's not a great adventure very often.
Definitely. But after that,
Sound the horn. Hold on.
sound the horn, Tom.
Yep, here we got it.
And I do want to just preface to everyone, I'm not skipping over your comments. What we do is we cover super chats first, and we go through our kind of set script almost first, and then after we're done with that, we go to your comments. But thank you, John, for the super chat. Hope everyone had a great Texas trip. In your opinion, if the Six Flags parks were to rebrand themselves as Warner Brothers parks, do you think it could help with employment? I don't think it would really help with employment, and honestly, I don't know if it would help with brand recognition either, because Six Flags has become such an identifiable brand, and I think that's why Cedar Fair in the merger is keeping the Six Flags name, just because it's so well known across the country. Everyone knows Six Flags if you ask them. And rebranding to Warner Brothers parks, honestly, I don't think the Warner Brothers brand is really all that popular right now. I mean, people know DC and a few of their other properties, but in terms of as a whole, I don't think they're as popular as Six Flags.
Well, if you watch Space Jam 2, they won't let you forget just what Warner Brothers owns. So
that's true.
They tried to make it popular, but I don't know. Yeah, the Six Flags brand is so recognizable, and plus, like, basically Warner Brothers' two most strong IPs are baked into that anyway, because everybody expects that there'll be DC rides and Looney Tunes meet and greets. So yeah, I think I don't know what it'll do for employment, if anything.
Yeah, if you look at the Warner Brothers park in Australia, which I got to go to last year, it really is a Warner Brothers park. So like they have movie rides and they have like almost Universal level theming. Unless Six Flags were willing to go in that direction where they truly made the park about the movies and making the movies, I actually think there's little to no value above what they have today, which is exceptional IP from the DC universe.
Yeah, I would agree. Back to the rodeo. After dinner, that was when.
Wait. When did we do the quarry wall walk?
Oh, see,
we just gloss over that entire thing.
That was like way earlier in the day.
That was right after the DC ERT, but before we went on the water rides.
It was like 3 o'clock-ish, 2, 3 o'clock, I think.
No, it was like 10, 11 a.m.
No, because right as they were
right, yeah, it was really early, yeah.
I can't believe. See, if you guys can't tell, there's so much that you do at Roller Coaster Rodeo. It's easy to forget about some of the most insane things you might have done.
That was my favorite part.
So
I forgot about it.
So first we went down by Iron Rattler's Drop, and at first they had to stop at the train tracks, and then a PR guy came over and was like, no, we're going all the way down. We went all the way down by the water for the Rapids ride, got unbelievable views of the drop and the quarry drop as well for Iron Rattler, and they were cycling the ride empty for us, which, again, Fiesta Texas, phenomenal decision to do that for all the behind-the-scenes tours, to run the rides even if the park or the ride wasn't open. So great to see that. And after that, we made the giant trek all the way up the hill, over Roadrunner, to the top of the quarry, and they had that whole area open. And it was a bit of a hike to get from one side to the other. There was the one offshoot to the left that brought you right by the quarry drop and the first drop. And then to get over by the little elements they have at the top of the quarry, you had to go all the way back and all the way around to the right offshoot. And that went all the way back around to pretty much like the first twist they have up there. And the views up there were unbelievable. I can't wait to post more of my footage I got from up there, because it came out amazing. I know Bob was definitely in his heyday up there
Oh,
taking
yeah.
pictures.
It was by far
The
my
views
favorite
were
part.
unbelievable.
It was
I was
phenomenal.
finding all kinds of great angles that I was just going crazy over. It was really a photographer.
Well, the last like 20 to 30 minutes were full trains too, with people on them.
Yeah, which definitely made the shots even cooler. So now that I covered that, because sorry I forgot about that.
Before you move on,
Oh.
this is a good segue to discuss that. In the background here, I am doing Iron Rattler Nano Coaster. That was my 250th that I hit on the trip. So hopefully this will be done by the end of the stream. Let's see how far. There's not too many pieces in here. Like I'm cutting out the last track piece. There's only 3.
Good luck and don't cut yourself.
I will try. Not too.
So jumping back to after the dinner, that is when we got to have the fireworks show. And I was hyping it up to Tom and everyone who had yet to see it, because when I saw it in 2020, and I know Bob saw the same show as me in 2020, it was easily the best fireworks show I've ever seen from a park. They had projections on the quarry wall. They had all kinds of lighting, sound, music synced with the fireworks, a really long show. I mean, still, when I hear certain songs, I think of that show. That's how memorable that is to me. And this fireworks show was really good. I'm not going to lie, it was not as good as it was in 2020.
The ending was amazing.
The ending was by far one of the greatest things I've ever seen, because what they did, they mainly just had the one section of the quarry wall lighting off fireworks, but for the end of Paradise City, which was the last song they played by Guns N' Roses, they went full 180 degrees all the way back by Superman and Iron Rattler, and there were just fireworks everywhere flying around you. It was unbelievable. I mean, just absolutely breathtaking the way they lit up the sky like that. So that was really cool to see. I do kind of wish they still had the quarry wall projections. I don't know if they discontinued that, but still great show nonetheless. And after that, the park, I believe, closed at 9. And then starting at 9:30 is when our whole park ERT started, and that went until midnight. And that is probably one of the craziest things I've ever seen a park do for ERT. When they say everything was open, literally everything except for the water rides was open. Kiddie rides, flat rides, roller coasters, everything still running at full capacity. I was absolutely mind blown. So we did Poltergeist, we did Superman, and we did the ride in Crack Axle Canyon. Oh yeah, I did Batman at some point too. I kind of forgot to mention that.
Oh yeah,
I think what I liked was the fact that Iron Rattler and Roadrunner are basically in the dark.
Yes,
there's basically hardly any lighting. I thought that was really cool.
They were great night rides, both.
And then you have something completely different with Poltergeist and Superman, because Poltergeist, the entire spaghetti bowl is lit up completely green, but it doesn't make it like any less disorienting. I kind of got lost as we were riding it. It is such an intense ride, especially at night where you really can't see much. And Superman, back in 2020 when I first rode it, wasn't really a big fan of Superman, but this time around, totally different story. It was so good, not that rough, and the intensity was definitely there. And my night rides on it really blew me away with the lighting they had against the quarry wall. It was amazing. But the star of the show for sure was Iron Rattler, which I loved back in 2020 and loved even more this time around. It was unbelievable. I think I rode it a total of 17 times, just absolutely running fantastic. The crews were pumping the trains out. And even though there's 750 people there, never really waited more than 1 or 2 trains on Iron Rattler. And a lot of times I just got to re-ride too. It was unbelievable.
Well, then everything else didn't wait at all on. Because we were
No, it was
we were on trains by ourselves half the time.
Yeah.
I almost had a center seat Zen ride on Dr. D. So I was in the center seat and there was no one on the train front. I call it the track walker, right? Because your feet are like right over the track. And I was like, am I really going to get a center seat track walker Zen ride on Dr. D? And like last minute, someone ran up and they sat on the wing. It was a great experience. I mean, the fact that you could literally walk on Dr. Diabolical and wait no more than 1 or 2 cars for Iron Rattler. I think, and I'll make a observation here, Colin. It's the first time I've seen you exhausted. Like we were getting to a like 11:45, and you were like,
I was worn out.
Yeah.
You know, one of the amazing things about this event was, and I mentioned this to you, I think at some point, is that like there was no BS, there was no entitled enthusiast bullshit. Everybody got along, everybody had a great time. It was wonderful. It was clearly the best event I've ever been to.
Not to mention how well and I guess that goes into the fact that we didn't really wait for anything despite how many people were there. like they managed 750 people so easily, especially I'll call out the Superman infield tour because I'm like, how are they going to do a walkthrough with 750 people? And it just went so seamlessly. Like
And they didn't
everything
have
was
to
so
yell at hardly anybody, or
Yeah,
I mean, they backed a
everybody
few people
behaved.
up from different spots, but like other than that, they didn't have to. It was amazing.
It was a really good mix of a bunch of different coaster clubs. I mean, you had people from Ace, people from Coaster Crew, people from Buzz Bars, people from Bluesiest, Mellon Coaster Network. So many different coaster clubs, and everyone got along. Everyone was friendly. I think, honestly, it was just the environment we were in because we saw that there was so much care and love put into the event that nobody even thought to act up or act like an idiot. I mean, I saw videos from Coaster Mania where things got pretty heated. None of that even remotely close to that at Roller Coaster Rodeo. And I think a lot of that is owed to Jeffrey Siebert and the entire team for really just going all out. They pulled out everything for us. I mean, I think the only thing they couldn't do that they really wanted to was have Wonder Woman open for us, but that was out of their control.
And it wasn't even promised anyway. So
exactly, it wasn't promised. And everything they did was fantastic. They got Kid Flash open for us. It wasn't open for a while before Rodeo. They got that back open. Just a mind-blowing event. And we're not even done after the CRT. There's still another day.
Mm-hmm.
So, Colin, I think you hit the point, right? When you go to these other events, like sometimes it's a free-for-all, right? Like this was very orderly. Like even the like few things that went wrong, like they were like, oh, okay, got it, and just adjusted. I think when if there are other parks listening to your podcast, or you get a chance to talk to other planners, I think they should take notes on what went well with Rodeo. And even like if you think about it, when it first started, it was in the 200s. Like to go from 200 people to 700 people and for it to get progressively better year over year, like they're doing something right. So I don't know. I don't know what Siebert's magic is. I get to spend time with him every now and then, being here and both working in the area. But he has figured something out with his team that like makes it very difficult for me to want to go to other events.
You can tell that his staff, even to the lowest people, love working there and love working for him, because I didn't encounter one single bad employee or upset employee. They were all happy to be there. They were all just smiling all the time, and no matter who they were, no matter if they were the guy sweeping up like the back lot, he was still like having a good time doing it. It's amazing. It's got to be a wonderful place to work.
The energy of that park really is infectious, and I had the opportunity to have a brief conversation with some people higher up in the Six Flags company, and really did mention the fact that I would love to see events like this come to more parks, like maybe Great Adventure, Magic Mountain. The way they ran Rodeo, I think, is truly a model of how any amusement park event should go. And if you're watching this right now and you didn't get the chance to go to Rodeo this year or any years past, plan a trip to go next year, because personally, I'm going to make every effort I can to get back out there for Rodeo number 5, which Jeffrey promised is going to be even better than the others because it is an anniversary year. It is just an unbelievable event the way they ran it. And I do want to just quickly touch on the third day because there's more. The next day,
there's more.
We got to do the Superman lift walk. So Tom, myself, Darius, my dad, Lori, and Gabe all did that, while Bob was doing the Dr. Diabolical lift walk. And something really cool happened while we were doing that. We were both at the top of each lift at the exact same time. And
we were walking down. We were literally turning around to walk down.
Just so happened to look at each other at the exact same time while Bob was taking a picture of us. I was taking a picture of Bob. And in each picture, I mean, mine's nowhere near as good as Bob's because I was using my phone. You can see us all looking at each other, waving. Not planned at all. It was unbelievable how that was working out. But the Superman lift walk was very different than Dr. D's, because Dr. D, you were strapped in, you had this harness on, and you kind of walked up with it. Superman, no harness. You just held on and walked up. It was scary. I'm not gonna lie.
The funniest thing was FaceTiming my mom from the top of Superman's lift. She's like, "Oh my God, where are you? I'm on top of this coaster. How high? 160 feet. Are you safe? I hope so." But no, I'm a terrible son for scaring her like that. But it was just the coolest view ever.
I mean, you got to go all the way down to the pre-drop where you have that little trim brake, and just being able to touch the track, pretty much climb on it. I mean,
Stick your head through the track too.
Yeah,
Like,
stick
what
your
an
head right
opportunity.
in, get some really cool shots of your head in between the brake. Just mind blowing. I've never done anything that cool. In addition to Dr. D, and then there was another cool tour literally right after that. Right after we climbed back down Superman, we got to walk over to Poltergeist and just walk all over the ride. We got to go inside the spaghetti goal section of the ride, and obviously they didn't run it for this one because you would die if they ran it for this one. We got to sit in the track like a bench, climb all over it, get unbelievable pictures and views. I mean, literally have
That was
never
like
seen
45 minutes long too.
Yeah. And they gave us plenty of time after the Dr. D and Superman tour to go over there. And what I really like about all the tours they have is that for the most part, there were a couple exceptions. There was no rush. There was no like, franticness of trying to make it. You could just kind of come and go as you please, especially at the Poltergeist one, the DC one, the Quarry Wall. You could just walk in, maybe a little late. Maybe you were on a ride. You had to come a little later. No problem. Just walk in, do whatever you got to do, leave at your leisure. I really did like that a lot because there wasn't that stress of missing the tour or being late.
We didn't take advantage of it that much, but they also had the lounge open for us too, which was cool.
Yes, they did, and the lounge was really nice too. I kind of
well, they had like cookies and stuff, and then they had more water everywhere, which was awesome.
Yes, it was a little packed.
If you don't know, with the heat index, it was at least 105 every day we were there.
Yes, it was very.
Not only water, but you had Coke, Sprite, and not the cheap stuff. They had full cans sitting in big hoppers where you could take a Dasani, a Coke, a Sprite, a Diet Coke. I might have missed a couple of things, but no one went without if you had a badge.
Yeah. So after that, we had the water park ERT, and that was cool. It was basically just like a big party. They had fruit out there for us. They had mimosas, which Gabe was obsessed with. There was, of course, drinks everywhere. And they had the wave pool. Oh, Tom, sound the alarm.
Oh, man. We got one.
Thank you, Brian, for the super chat. Greatly appreciate it. If you want to send a message, send it whenever, and I will pull it up.
The super chat is just 99 cents, he said?
That's super chat with no message.
Yeah, it's just he just wanted to say 99 cents to you, Colin. There you go.
Thank you, Brian. It is greatly appreciated. Back to Rodeo. What we did, we got to do the wave pool, and then they had Tornado, the drop slides, which I believe is called Bonsai Pipelines, and Thunder Rapids open. So we did ride Tornado once. It was fun. I mean, they have the same thing at Great Adventure and a lot of other water parks. But my main thing was Thunder Rapids because I got the chance to ride it in 2020, and I don't think most of you had ridden it before, and I was hyping it up. I always thought it's my favorite water slide, and that's because it's a Pro Slide Rocket Blast. It's not like a lot of the other water coasters that use magnets to propel you. This one uses water jets, and when you get to the top of each hill, you get this giant wave of water crashes over you. And if you had a lighter load in your boat, like I got to ride with just Tom, I believe once or twice, you actually got airtime going over some of those hills.
Yeah. I lost my left contact because of how forceful the splashes were. It was so cool.
It was very aggressive, and if you go to Fiesta, Texas, even if you're not a water park person, I would go into Hurricane Harbor just to ride Thunder Rapids. It really is that worth it. Such a great ride. But after we did all that, got the chance to talk to a few other people from the park, and then that's when we kind of all went our separate ways. Darius, were you at the water park? I can't even remember. That's right, you weren't.
Nope.
So that's when we split from Darius, and then Bob, he was at the park for a little while longer. Then he went off on his own to do the rest of his trip, which we'll get to a little bit later.
I went to the top of the wall first, though, behind the mall, and took those pictures, too.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, I had to climb through, cockleburrs and things, though, that I had to throw a pair of socks away because they were covered.
So once we finished there, we went up. I see Brian did send a message, so let me pull that up. How was Dr. Diabolical? It was really fun.
I think he was going to say, how was your walk, lift hill walk? This is how was your Dr. Diabolical?
Well, it was really cool. I mean, the views up there were unlike anything I've seen, and the people that brought us up there were really, really nice. I mean, they let us just kind of, hang up there as long as we wanted to and didn't rush us or anything, which I really appreciated about all the tours.
Yeah, it was cool. I looked down the whole way up the steps because I was like, you know what? I'm just going to look up when I know I'm near the top. And then I walked and I walked and I walked and I looked up and I was a third of the way to the top. And I was very upset.
No super chat, sorry.
You're good. False alarm.
It was a misinput.
But
I feel like Dr. Diabolical melted the Iron Menace, but you and I have a disagreement on that.
I personally do like Iron Menace a little better, which I know a lot of people don't agree with. I just found Iron Menace to be more intense overall and just a better, more well-paced experience. Dr. D had some great moments, but I think when you compare moment to moment, Iron Menace has more really good moments. That's just my opinion, though.
To me, the smoothness and the theme kind of pull it over. Like,
I
it
will
is
say that.
generally more smooth to me than Menace.
Dr. D was miles smoother than
It was
Menace.
weird to me. They made us like go in the pre-show rooms when there was no line though. Like during
Yeah.
PRD, had like locked us in there still.
I was kind
I
of
enjoyed it though.
It
was
was a
fine.
really
I
good
mean,
pre-show.
It was air
They're
conditioning.
proud of that theming.
They are. They don't want to pass it up. That's for sure. But
on that note, Colin, I'm at an hour. I got an hour break. I got to go back to Father's Day activities. It was good catching up with you. I'm glad I got to hang out with you guys in Texas.
Yes.
Likewise,
We'll
Darius.
We need you to come to New
Thank you
Jersey.
for everything.
I'm working on a Jersey trip soon.
Let us know when you're out here.
Will do. I always do. Have a good one, guys.
You
Take
too,
care.
Darius.
Later.
Peace out. So that pretty much ends the rodeo, but we still have a little bit more before we get to your questions. So be patient. We will get to your questions, but this is, of course, the Texas recap. So now we have Six Flags Over Texas, and we all went there at different times. Bob, did you go on this trip?
Nope.
That's right. You skipped it. So Tom and I went at different times.
Yes.
I went mainly because I had a bunch of missing credits. When I went in 2020, we had not the greatest experience. Weather definitely screwed us over pretty good. They wound up closing the park early. There were a lot of rides closed. So in 2020, I hadn't gotten to ridden Lavi Bora, Runaway Mine Train, Mini Mine Train, Runaway Mountain, and their kiddie coaster. And Aquaman, of course, was there, but it was nowhere near opening yet. It didn't open until last year. So I got to ride all of those except for the kiddie coaster. That's currently closed because they're doing some renovations to the Bugs Bunny area. But I had a much better experience this time around. I actually got to film on my second day, and I really do want to thank the team for that. They were very accommodating, and I know they usually don't do that, so I really do appreciate that they made the accommodations they did. We filmed on literally every coaster except for Titan because it was closed at the time we were over there because of thunderstorms in the area, which, how ironic, because that's what destroyed our trip in 2020. And, of course, we didn't get on the kiddie coaster, but we did everything else, plus a bunch of flat rides. And overall, my opinion of Over Texas is much better than it was. Of course, coming from Fiesta going there, it's no Fiesta Texas, that's for sure. But it was interesting because you could see a lot of things that definitely felt like they came directly from corporate that went right to that park, since it is basically the corporate headquarters park. It's right by the corporate headquarters, which is, I believe, right across the street from the park pretty much in the stadium. But I did enjoy the park a lot. Titan was really, really good. And, of course, I was just most excited to get back on Mr. Freeze. Didn't disappoint. I love going forwards and backwards. The one ride that did let me down, unfortunately, was New Texas Giant. When I rode it in 2020, I thought it was pretty good. Like, you could definitely tell it was the first RMC, and, you know, they didn't go too crazy with the layout, but you still had a really good first half and a solid second half because it really didn't trim back then on the mid-course. This time around, though, I did think the first half was still good, but then you get to the mid-course and you just got whacked so hard almost to a stop, to the point where the second half did absolutely nothing, which I thought was really unfortunate to see. And I did make a note of this in the video, which you guys will see later. The ops at the park had a really bad tendency to just staple you so hard. Do you have a super chat, Tom?
Oh, we do.
That alarm.
Let's hit it.
Thank you, Brian, for another super chat. Greatly appreciate it. Will El Toro be open for the 50th anniversary on July 1st? I'm going to hope yes. As far as I know, it's just closed for some maintenance right now. They're doing some work on the trains, which we will see in tomorrow morning's vlog from yesterday. That's when that's releasing. They had A Train over by Rolling Thunder's maintenance area, so I'm hoping that very soon we'll see it back up and running. B Train is still on the transfer track with dummies, and I've heard it has tested. I can't confirm that, so I'm imagining it should open within the next week or so. So we'll see what happens. I did hear that the main reason Zumajaro is back open is because they wanted a substitute since Toro is currently closed. And it looks like them opening that was a really good decision because, again, as you guys will see in tomorrow's vlog, that ride had like a 5-minute wait, which I've never seen except for when it had VR. So I was very impressed by that. But moving back to Six Flags Over Texas.
I think the other thing that pisses me off about New Texas Giant still is those stupid fake windows on the train, and you bang your elbows constantly on them, and they're so useless. They don't serve no purpose whatsoever, and they're so annoying. The other thing about the park itself is you get that vibe of like, okay, this is cool. It's like when you go to Disneyland, you're like, okay, this is cool. This is the first one, you know,
Right.
like, and that's a cool part of it. But yeah, I agree. Like it doesn't, you can't compare it to Fiesta.
I don't know any better because I obviously did not ride New Texas Giant in 2020. This was my first time there, but I thought it was fine. But I think that's the best way I can describe it is that it was fine. I didn't bash my elbow on the windows or anything. But there was definitely a noticeable difference between riding it in the beginning of the day versus at the end of the day, where it was a lot better. But still, yeah, that mid-course just kills any momentum. Like, turn the thing off. Like, please, we're begging you.
I know there was really no reason for it. Honestly, it made the ride kind of feel like a family coaster, which I don't think is at all the intention. So, oh well. But something I really get to appreciate more this time around compared to 2020 is just how nice the park is themed.
Yes.
Especially the whole left side of the park, so well themed. I mean, it is really immersive with that kind of Western vibe they have going. That whole area just looks absolutely spectacular. Give me a second. I think I have to sneeze.
Oh. Bless you.
There we go.
My allergies have been bad too. They were bad in
Yeah,
Texas.
when we
then,
started this, I was having an
like-
allergy attack. I'm
like
better
a
now.
fool, but it is Father's Day. I offered to mow my dad's lawn, and I suffered for it. But his yard looks nice, so
Yeah, well,
Just price
there you
gotta
go.
pay sometime.
It's Father's Day. But like I was saying, all the rides I hadn't gotten the chance to ridden, Runaway Mountain really caught me off guard. It was a lot more intense than I was
it was
expecting.
really good.
It was really good. It felt like Better Skull Mountain. That's the
Hey,
best way I could summarize
You know, I think you were trying to get a reaction out of me by saying that, but I'm gonna agree.
it. I figured you would. I mean,
No, yeah.
it is really surprising for a
I also
family coaster
went into
like
the
that.
park completely blind, like did not watch a single POV, and I didn't know what to expect. And yes, I got Better Skull Mountain, so Runaway Mountain is my new favorite mountain at Six Flags.
Yes, I would agree with that. But overall, over Texas definitely impressed me. I had a much better visit this time around. I just wish New Texas Giant wasn't running the way it was. And like I was saying before the super chat, the ops really had this just horrible tendency to staple you so tight to the point where you couldn't even feel your legs, which, I mean, there's no reason for it. I understand it to a point with New Texas Giant because they did have the accident about 10 years ago where the woman was ejected. So I get it to a point. But anybody who has been riding coasters for a long time knows that you don't need to be completely jammed in order to be safe. You can not have it be touching your thigh. You can have it like lightly touching and you're just fine. So I do wish that that wasn't the case. But otherwise, great park. And now, Bob, it is your turn to share your bonus little leg of the trip where you did Silverwood, Lagoon, and a few other things. So have at it.
Yeah, so Monday morning I flew out to Salt Lake City, got my rental car, drove over to Lagoon. Lagoon is weird. It gives off, it's right at the side of the highway. It gives off like Kennywood vibes in the sense of like the old school classic amusement park, which is what they go for there. But in terms of everything else, it's completely the opposite of Kennywood. The ops were great. The collection's weird because like Cannibal's awesome. Like the drop on Cannibal is probably one of my favorite drops on any coaster I've been on. The Lagoon Roll is really cool. The rest of the ride's just kind of like a big. It's like a big Gerstlauer almost in terms of the way it rides. The only thing I had to wait for was Primordial, which was like an hour wait. I didn't know that when I got in line because it was like 100 degrees outside, and I just did. It's Primordial is weird. And I'm not going to spoil it for anybody, but it's a very, very strange ride. Colossus was pretty cool. They have two wild mouses for some reason. I did not ride Jetstar 2 because you need another person, and I didn't want to try to find a random person, and you have to like do the thing where you like wrap your legs around the side of them, and that would be awkward with a random person. So I was like, yeah, I'll go back here at some point with somebody. So I didn't get that, and you need a kid for the kiddie coaster from what Chris told me, so I didn't ride that either.
I am planning a trip to Salt Lake City when the Devils play the new Utah Hockey Club. Bob,
It was a really pretty city. It's really cool to have the mountains in the background of an amusement park because you don't get to see that very often, at least not visually.
If you don't mind being dragged to a hockey game, I will go ride Jetstar 2 with you.
And then, so I was there probably till I got there at like noon, I think. I stayed till about 6 and then had some food and stuff there. It was cool. They had like a beer garden type place in the middle of the park. It's almost like hidden. I went and ate in there, and that was pretty good food. And then after that, I went back to my hotel, stayed there the rest of the night, and then I flew to Spokane the next day. Got my rental car there. Drove to RMC because Amy, who is Fred Grubb's daughter, had agreed to give me a tour of the place. It was cool to see, to be able to say, yeah, I got to tour RMC. I got to see some cool stuff, but I didn't get to see anything that, like, I wouldn't say if I saw anything out of the ordinary anyways, but I just saw a track they were doing, which is presumably going overseas for that one Raptor, because that's all it really was. But it's a very, as much as like you talk about like Fred Grubb being very like laid back and like chill about everything, that's exactly how the business is too. Like all the people are very nice, very quiet, very smooth operation, nothing special going on. She answered a lot of my questions. It was really cool. It's a very cool experience, and thanks Scott for setting that up, and thanks Amy for helping me out with that. And after that, I drove about 10 minutes from there is Silverwood. Silverwood is a very cute little park. The layout's kind of weird. Their coasters are in an area called Roller Coaster Alley, which is just like they're all cordoned off on one side of the park, and they're pretty much jammed together. But it took me a little bit to figure out how to get to the last like one of them in the back. I was disappointed Aftershock was down because I really wanted to ride it, because after having ridden Goliath and how horrible that was, I heard Aftershock was actually really good, but it was down all day. Tremors and Timber Terror were fun. The two kiddie coasters were whatever. Corkscrew was cool. It wasn't rough or anything. Yeah, it was a very nice little park. Again, they have lots of shops there, and they have lots of different like tiny restaurants and things, and it's a very nice little park. It's unfortunate that it's off in the middle of nowhere compared to most of the rest of the parks in the country, though. But yeah, I fly into Spokane because it's the more major of the airports in that general area. Coeur d'Alene has an airport, but I'm pretty sure it's like a tiny little just jet strip thing. But yeah, if you can get up there, definitely get up there. Thank you to Stephanie who took care of me and got me a ticket for free, because a daily ticket there's like $84. So a Lagoon daily ticket without discounts like $95.
Yikes!
Wow.
Yeah, it's.
I guess those family parks just jack up those prices.
Yeah. So thank you, Stephanie, for taking care of that. But yeah, if you have a chance to get up there, it was great. What the best part about the Silverwood day was that it was 75 and breezy after 110 degrees in Texas
Very
and 95
nice.
degrees at Lagoon, and I was so ecstatic to be walking around with like not sweating and dying. And then I stayed in a historical hotel in like downtown Spokane, which was pretty cool, and then flew home the next day. Long day, but yeah, it was cool.
Nice. I do want to jump in real quick and thank Jeffrey for watching, because I just got a comment from him.
Oh, no way.
Thank you all for the great recap. Get ready for Roller Coaster Rodeo's 5th anniversary in 2025. Prepare for the monorail adventure. I'm looking forward.
Well, this is for you, Jeff. I finished the Iron Rattler Nano. Took about 35 minutes, and now I'm tempted because I know Dorney is doing their Thunderhawk 100th anniversary event, and I see there's a nano coaster building contest. It'd be great. I might actually be busy that day, unfortunately, but
yeah, there's a lot going on that day.
There's so much going on that particular day.
Yep. Yeah, but that is it for our Texas recap, which means you guys in the chat, I know you've been waiting eagerly. I appreciate the patience. I'm going to scroll all the way to the beginning and start answering your questions. The question segment of the stream is going to be a lot shorter than usual, since I don't really want this to go past like 10:30 at the absolute latest. I got work tomorrow morning. Even though school's done, doesn't mean the early mornings stop. So let's take a look here.
Before you stop, though, I will say my most anticipated coaster of the trip was Mr. Freeze. And the reason I was almost late, Colin, which thankfully I wasn't, was because I actually got a picture I took of it canvassed. So this will live on my wall. There's a picture I took on the trip. I touched it up a little bit in Photoshop. Can't lie, the bolts are gone. I cleaned up Snowy down here. But yes, this will now live right next to my chiller shrine over there because why not? So, yeah.
Nice. So first question comes from Nick's Vlogs. What's up? What do you think they're doing with the Skyride at Great Adventure? Are they fixing it, or they're replacing it with a newer version? In my conversations with the park, they are not opening it this year. I mean, that we kind of saw coming. They don't want to just outright remove it. I know the ultimate goal would be to replace it with a new version like what we see with Disney's Skyliner. That is definitely what they would like to see. And I imagine it wouldn't be out of the question for them to want to expand it to have another extension that goes out to Savannah Sunset. I think that would be sweet. But as of right now, it's probably going to be SB&O for a minute because they just have so much going on. I mean, 2024 alone, we got the Log Flume, we got Big Wheel, we got Flash, we have, what else am I missing?
Well, tons of entertainment's coming back, which is
all the entertainment
we've been talking about for years. So that's
Splash Island is about to fully open, so lots going on at the park this year. And then next year, We have that rumored 2025 coaster. Again, we don't know for sure that it's happening. We haven't seen enough going on yet, but as far as I know, that is still in the pipeline. So that's just going to be on the back burner. Same with parachutes. We don't know what's happening with that as of right now. I wouldn't be surprised if they just keep it up as like an icon, similar to how it is at Coney Island, Luna Park, where they've kept their old one up as kind of like a statue of sorts. I wouldn't be surprised to do something similar with the Great Adventure one, but as of right now, we don't know what is going to happen with Skyway. Hey, Colin, if you remember me, I don't know if you remember me, but we met at the topping off of Flash at Great Adventure. Just wanted to say it was great meeting you. Great to meet you as well. Between Coaster Mania Thrillathon and Roller Coaster Rodeo, which is the better option? So all three of us have been to all three of those, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, I think so.
I say Roller Coaster Rodeo.
Me too.
Yeah, no
absolutely.
question.
And it's not even close.
No, it's by a mile. I like Coaster Mania, but I didn't like Coaster Mania 2022. I liked Coaster Mania 2021 a lot. Thrillathon I've enjoyed all the years I've gone, but they don't hold the candle to Rodeo at all. Did you come back with a Texas accent? I don't think so. My impression of a Texas accent is pretty terrible still, too.
I will say, we
didn't encounter many of those.
No, not really.
Before I had any inkling that I would ever go to Texas, I did use the word y'all a lot, like way more than a New Jerseyan should. But aside from that, no, it's just business as usual.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, I knew from last time I was there that you would encounter it every now and then, but the parks we went to were pretty much in major cities, so it's.
We also had a ton of people from everywhere with us because it sounds like everyone who was there for the rodeo had very similar trajectories of what parks they were going to hit. Yep. So who knows where everybody was from because they were from everywhere.
Tom and Colin like your hats. Thank you.
Is yours also the rodeo hat? Or not the rodeo hat.
From
Pennsylvania.
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm. Same one. How many rides did you get on Iron Rattler and Dr. D? So I got 17 on Iron Rattler, and I want to say maybe 5 on Dr. D.
Yeah, I got like 10 or 11 on Iron Rattler and about 4 or 5 on Dr. D as well.
Yeah, and then once you left for the water park, Colin, I think we did another handful of rides on Dr. D on Sunday too, so that was pretty cool.
Next up, let's see. Those hats give you Cinco de Mayo vibes. I can see that. I could definitely see that. Hyperia at Thorpe Park is officially reopened. Indeed, it has. Darius, unfortunately, is not here anymore. He actually did get the chance to ride it on opening day before it shut down for its extended closure, and he was raving about it. So I definitely want to get out there at some point. Congrats, Colin, on graduating. Thank you. Will the Station of Flash be like Justice League? I wouldn't say that. I think the queue might be a little more comparable to Justice League since it's going to be indoor. And after seeing what we saw in Texas with Dr. Diabolical and Joker, I can definitely see the direction they may go in with Flash's queue. I can definitely see maybe some animatronics. Definitely, of course, the integration of the double-sided lockers, maybe a pre-show.
You know what might be cool? A queue kind of like Cyborg Hyperdrive at New England where they have the projections of like all the different artifacts. Obviously, you'd have the cosmic treadmill and things like that. So I hope that's the direction they go, but we'll see.
And I do think that when the ride first opens, you're probably not going to see all the theming right away. I think the goal is to kind of soft open it. They've kind of been soft opening everything this year so far. Splash Island soft open, along with a couple of other things. So I imagine Flash will soft open with not everything fully done and then fully open later on with all the queue theming and stuff like that. Let's see. Thanks again to everyone who congratulated me. Super chat. Thank you, Brian, for the super chat. Tom, how did you like Texas?
Texas was great. Honestly, if I had the opportunity to move there, I probably would because it was such a change from New Jersey that I loved it. And at the end of this, I tried walking into a Wawa a few times actually because I needed coffee, and I can't do it anymore because I think I've become the ultimate Buc-ee's truther. It's just Wawa cannot hold a candle, and I'm sorry, revoke my New Jersey citizenship. It's just true.
Yeah, Wawa is definitely no Buc-ee's. But the only thing that would hold me back from living in Texas is the heat. It is really brutal down there. Even Darius, who's been living there for a while, can't take the heat during the summer. Next up, I like ZDTs. Switchback is a super fantastic and underrated wooden coaster. I would say it's probably
It's fun.
underrated.
Yeah, it's a lot
It
of
is
fun.
fun. Happy Father's Day, Phil. Everyone should be buying this man a drink. Without Phil, there would be no Hollywood Studios. Yes, that
Did
is
get him a
true.
rum bucket yesterday, so there's my
There
obligation.
you go. Let's see. What's the latest on El Toro? I pretty much went over a little earlier, but A train is off the track. B train is on the track with dummies. As far as we know, closed for maintenance. Not sure what they're doing. Let's see. I rode with Tom and others at Catapult Falls.
Yes, and I don't think we really
Yeah.
talked about it, but it was an interesting ride. I didn't.
Yeah.
We
I
got
think you just went
destroyed
on
by
the
the geyser, and then
Mhm.
Tom and I didn't get wet at all from the drop. And then
Where did you have
David-
to sit for the drop to hit you? I think it was toward the back, right?
Were we in the back or the front? I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
Wherever, yeah, I mean wherever we, Tom or Gabe and Jay got destroyed.
See, it's funny on that ride, Park Paradise wound up making a reel of me on there. I didn't realize he was filming, and he caught me when that surprise geyser hit right before the first launch. And I was just there with my two cameras like this, and then out of nowhere, the geyser comes. I was like, "Oh shoot!" And then got drenched. And then the rest of the ride, it was
I see someone
Not
saying it's a fun flume, but I don't count it as a credit, and I
It's
don't.
not a credit.
I agree that it's not
definitely
a credit.
not.
Yeah.
Still fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Definitely a good family ride. Next up, SeaWorld needs a lot more investment. Felt very empty. Yeah, I agree. It definitely needs more.
100%.
The problem with those SeaWorld parks, though, is that they didn't start out with rides. So trying to all of a sudden make them amusement parks or theme parks where they didn't have many rides to begin with is very difficult because a lot of those filler attractions you'll have at other actual amusement parks never existed there. So for them to all of a sudden try to build up a lineup is very difficult. There we go. So we'll see how it goes for them because they do have that issue at all the SeaWorld parks. Favorite theme park memory with your dad?
Is this for everybody?
I guess it is. For me, I mean, there's so many, obviously, because he's gone on most of the trips with me. But really, it's getting to see him ride coasters that he's been looking forward to for such a long time. Two coasters that immediately come to mind for me are the Beast at Kings Island and Mr. Freeze at both St. Louis and over Texas. The Beast he had been wanting to ride ever since he was a little kid when it was first announced. And when he finally got on it, he was really, really ecstatic. Same can be said with Mr. Freeze because he always looked forward to those rides ever since, Chiller was at Great Adventure. And when he finally got on them, he was very excited about it.
My dad used to take me to Great Adventure a lot. And so for whatever reason, the one thing that sticks with me about going to Great Adventure with my dad was frequenting the hot dog stand that was across from Movietown Water Effect, kind of near Chiller. For whatever reason, we always had to go get a hot dog, and it was pretty good. But then another funny years later, as in last year memory, was February at the Outdoor Devils game. My dad got to meet Brian, Coaster Patch shirt guy, and I told my dad, he was a ride operator when you would used to take me. He goes, "Oh, so you were the ride operator who operated the 4D ride when my son was too chicken to get on any roller coasters." So that kind of a fun little nugget. It was an interesting crossover.
Yeah, I don't have that many with my dad because he hurt his neck really bad when I was a kid, and he wasn't able to ride stuff after that, so he didn't really go to parks after that. But I do remember him just forcing me on my first coaster and not letting me chicken out and opening this world up to me, apparently, that I didn't know was going to happen, 35 years later. So
Nice. Track work on Georgia Surfer is complete. Yep, I did see that. So I imagine, honestly, that probably won't be too far behind Flash in opening. And I see questions about when Flash is going to open. We don't know right now. They're at the stage where it kind of looks like not much is happening, even though there's a lot going on with wiring and electrical stuff like that. We just can't see it, obviously. So it looks like nothing's going on, but there's a lot. So really how fast that goes, especially with construction of the station, which is essentially the brain of the ride, that is really going to determine when they get this ride open. But we'll have to wait and see. And the same can be said about Georgia Surfer, of course, to a much lesser extent because it's a much simpler ride, much smaller. There's not as many launch track sections, so that should probably go a little quicker. Favorite ride photo on a coaster? That's a very specific question, Brian.
It's also a tough one because there's so many.
One of my friends got hit by somebody's hat on Orion on the bridge of her nose, and in her ride photo, she's just bloody everywhere.
They're actually, it's not a picture that I was involved in, but if you guys know Jersey Devil Aaron, he, Sammy, and a few others went on a trip to Cedar Point recently, and he got hit by a bird on Maverick, and it happened right at the on-ride picture. So in the picture, you see him like this with a bird hitting him on Maverick. So there's that one. And then at Cedar Point, I'm not going to say what the hoodie said, but it was a very funny... You know exactly what I'm talking about.
I remember now.
And the guy had to cover it with tape because the park didn't want him to walk around wearing
That's the one
it.
where he's like,
yep, he ripped it off on the Rodeo, of course, and just went like this, and we saved the picture for him because we had fun pics. That will forever be
where I rode Magnum with Heinz Ward, which was cool.
Oh, nice.
I remember because growing up in Jackson, New Jersey, Great Adventure is the premier place to dump your teenage kids just when they want to get out of the house. It's like, here, go. Your parents can drive us there. My parents pick us up. So I'm there with a couple of my friends from school, and my friend Matt and I were riding Bizarro. And of course, at that tender age of like 14, 15, the coolest thing you can do is flip off the camera. So he flips off the camera on Bizarro, and we go back to see the picture, and it's all pixelated with the lock over it. That's how they used to do it back in the day. And he's freaking out. Oh, my God, they're going to kick me out of the park. What do I do? And nothing ever happened because why would anything happen? But that was pretty funny.
Yeah, it reminds me back in the COVID days when like someone's mask would either be off or like barely on. Like I remember Sammy's must have like slipped down in one of the on-ride pictures, and when we went to Six Flags Photos to retrieve it, she was like, well, I can't really give you this picture, but I'm going to put something over him so that, you can put it. So then she put like a sticker over his face that said my first coaster or something to cover up the fact that the mask wasn't on. And there's been a few times where like people flip the camera off and they do that so I can at least buy the pictures. So that's always cool. But lots of cool on-ride pictures over the years. I'm going to skip some of these. Here we go. Do any of you guys see progress with the Northern Star Arena from Medusa, or is that on hold for now? I remember there's some visibility from Medusa before.
Well,
so what they're doing right now is they have the log flume trough pieces being stored in there because they're still working on that project. So they keep a lot of them there, and they're moving them in when they're ready. So if I had to guess, once they're done with the log flume project and they're not using that as a staging area for that anymore, they're going to finally demo the arena, and hopefully that will be where the 2025 coaster is, because that area desperately needs more foot traffic. And I'm seeing it now more than ever, where even on a crowded day, you'll walk through the area, there's really not many people there. Maybe Medusa will have a line because it's on one train. Mine Train's usually a walk-on, and Best of the West is empty. I'm sure once the log flume reopens, it'll be a little more lively in that area, but it's just kind of depressing. And I think a big brand new coaster right there would really help, in addition to the Safari reopening on the 29th.
And double points if you can give it a good Western theme, because then you can have so many good merch tie-ins and food tie-ins at Best in the West. And I think there's a pretty cool opportunity there. But yeah, it would be nice for the traffic in the area.
Exactly. Dorney Park over SeaWorld? I'd agree.
Sure.
By far.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I'm really not huge on SeaWorld San Antonio. What is everyone's credit count? Mine is 19 this weekend, getting to 25. You'll get up there soon enough. Mine, after the Texas trip, it is 392.
Oh, yeah. Boy. I after Texas hit 253, I am going to try like hell to get to 300 this year. We'll see how that goes.
I am at 522. I'll probably pick up about 6 or 7 more this summer, I'm thinking.
My goal is, well, I'm sure I'll hit 400. It's just pretty much 1 or 2 brand new parks to me, and I'm there. I would like to get maybe close to 450. I don't know if that'll happen. I still have no idea what my summer plans look like, even though summer's already started for me. But we'll have to see what happens. I'm sure I'll hit 400 at least, though.
Pick up 1 at Great Adventure.
That's true. I got to ask what everyone is thinking. Where is Ace? Well, today he was at Kings Island. He's been on a very long series of road trips, so don't worry. Once we get him back on one of the streams, I'm sure he will have a plethora of stories to tell us about his travels. He has pretty much been all over the country.
He's going to parks he's been to before, but yet his credit count will go up by 60 by the time he comes back somehow.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
He's going to count Project 305 as a new credit. And,
Thunder Striker.
Yeah, Thunder Striker, that was it.
Let's see. Iron Rattler is, in my opinion, top 5 RMC. The way it interacts with the quarry wall is incredible. I think I might agree. I don't remember what my
It's
RMC
just
rankings
the
are.
last,
Wait,
the last thing after the damn tunnel. If there was something else, it's
I
so
know.
frustrating.
It does have a bit of an abrupt ending, but I can actually speak to this because in my free time, I'm trying to get like a definitive version of my top 50 coasters at least, because now I'm finally at a point where I can do that. And I'm starting by ranking every like category of rides first. So my favorite floorless, hyper, invert, and I'm up to RMCs. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, it is my 5th favorite RMC. So I agree.
Yeah, I can't think of my rankings right now. It's definitely top 8, something like that. I don't know. But what I really like about Iron Rattler is that its design language is very different than the other RMCs. And I talk about this in the vlog that's going to be coming soon, where I feel like it's kind of comparable to El Toro, where unlike the other RMCs that have a lot of these smaller rapid fire elements where there's a lot more elements in quantity, they maybe don't have the same quality as something like IRAT does. Each element on Iron Rattler feels more like grand, and it's really much more drawn out. The airtime is much more pronounced. Again, very similar to El Toro. And I really like that a lot because I feel like each element stands out a lot more as opposed to all the small elements that are kind of rapid fire, just kind of blending together. Like that first drop, that first airtime hill, the first turn, you got the 0G roll, all the little stuff on the top, and then the quarry dive. Everything stands out as like a really, really elite element. The ride's a little short, but honestly, I mean, the terrain interactions plus the fact that it was the second RMC, I think that all makes up for it. Said this earlier, but for me, Iron Menace. I know Tom disagrees.
I disagree, but what do you think, Bob?
I haven't been on Iron Menace yet, so if I get out there to ride Flash, I'm gonna stop on the way and ride it.
New Jersey.
So. Yeah, you better come to Jersey. This is a good year for it.
This is a good year for
One Flash opens. Let's see. Dude, Iron Menace has me so torn. I don't know if I like it or not. It's an interesting ride. It rides very different than the other B&M dive coasters, both in good and bad ways. I think the roughness kind of adds to the intensity, but it's also really strange that a brand new coaster rides that way. I don't think it's normal. But I do think it's a really intense ride, especially compared to a lot of the other B&M dives, which is why I like it a lot. Definitely my favorite of the 3 mini ones that I've been on. Superman, in my opinion, best floorless in America. See,
Medusa,
I used to strongly disagree, but I still think Medusa, West, and Kraken are probably better.
Oh,
I like Kraken.
Kraken's awful.
So we'll see.
Kraken's just so intense. That's what I really like.
Rough.
Dominator's also really
Dominator's
good.
great. Medusa West Coast though shits on all of them.
I wasn't the biggest Superman fan off the jump, which if you ever talk to Gabe, he'll tell you my reaction. But the night ride kind of saved it for me. It pulled it up a little bit because that truly is a great night ride, especially with the quarry. But no, Medusa West, I think we all agree that is
definitely the best one. Yeah. Next up, can't wait for the crew to head to Saudi for Falcon's Flight.
Oh,
See, it's funny. I was just speaking with Salim, and he was just visiting Falcon's Flight, and I'm more than willing to go out there when it opens. I know, the country itself, I don't really agree with a lot of what they do there. I think it's a whole different world over there. Let's put it that way. But roller coasters are roller coasters. It's my hobby, and it's a brand new Six Flags park. I'm kind of known for covering the Six Flags stuff, so I think it's almost a rite of passage for me to go over there and check it out. Tom, got another super chat. Thank you, Brian, for the super chat. Colin and Tom, do you think Great White at Maury's will get RMC'd? So there's actually a lot to talk about with this particular question. So
wait, is there?
Great White is an interesting ride because there was actually supposed to be a second wooden coaster built at Maury's Piers. It was going to be, I can't remember if it's either GCI or Gravity Group. It's one of the two. I think it's Gravity Group. And it was supposed to hop the piers, as it was kind of coined, where it would go from one pier all the way to the other and come back. And if you guys have been to Wildwood, you know that those piers are pretty far apart. So that's a pretty decent sized coaster. And it kind of would have been like the secondary coaster to Great White. I think its station was supposed to be at Adventure Pier. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was supposed to be there, go to Mariners and come back, if I'm not mistaken. And unfortunately, those plans were kind of scrapped. And I think that kind of comes from the fact that maintaining a wooden coaster on the beach is not easy. Sand definitely takes its toll on that, plus the fact that wooden coasters are just really expensive maintenance wise, anyways. So, Great White being RMC'd, I don't think it'll ever happen, honestly, because the ride is super popular as is. Maury's is a very expensive park. If you've ever been there, you know, very, very expensive. And it's essentially a gold mine because there's no other amusement parks there to compete with them. And all the rides are crazy popular, especially in the summer on the weekends at night. They don't really have to touch that ride, just keep it maintained. So personally, I don't see it ever getting RMC'd. I haven't heard of any maintenance issues with it. It seems like the park does a good job keeping up on its maintenance. It runs really well. So I don't think it's ever going to get RMC'd personally.
Yeah, that's another one that I'm trying to get to because I've not gone to Maury's yet. So
Really?
hopefully this year,
Coasting by the Oceans this summer.
I might be convinced into doing Coasting by the Ocean if enough people show up. You know what? I'm going to have to interrupt the stream for a second here because we have a guest caller to the stream. It's Sammy. Sammy. He says Ole.
Ole, Sammy.
Who is that?
That is
you are live on the Collywood
Sounds
Studios
like
live
Charlie
stream.
Brown's mom.
Oh wait, what, really?
Yes, you. Thanks so much for your call to the Collywood live stream.
Oh, wait.
All right, he can't hurt us anymore.
All right, cool. So
That was fun.
yeah, that's my opinions on that. Let me try to find where I was.
But yes, that's on my list. Coasting by the Ocean. If enough people go, maybe I can be swindled into going.
There you go. What are your thoughts on Pirates of the Deep Sea Dark Ride? Well, there's two. There's the one at Fiesta and the one at well, no, Pirates of the Deep Sea is Fiesta. Pirates of Spelunker Cave is over.
Yes,
that's right. I like the one at Fiesta. I thought it was cool. Again, the shooting was hit or miss, but that's the case with any shooting ride, really.
it's a nice overlay to the traditional Boo Blaster experience.
Yeah, I would say so.
But and then Spelunker Cave, it was okay, but
It felt like a Monster Mansion.
Monster Mansion is still like the king of Six Flags classic dark rides for me.
Definitely. Let's see. I feel like Great Adventure should get a mock power splash at some point, like over Texas. After riding Aquaman, I would not be opposed to that at all. I would rather see them get the loop model just to kind of set it apart because it is Great Adventure and they need the turntable. What I found interesting at Over Texas was that Aquaman, you know, they delayed it by 3 years to add the turntable. They were running one train, which I thought was kind of funny. But yeah, that ride, when it's running two trains, I imagine the capacity is fine. But one train on it, capacity is pretty rough. That's why I only rode it once. But if Great Adventure got one, I wouldn't be against it. My only concern is that they would probably struggle to keep it open all the time since it is a water ride. In Texas, that's not really a problem because there, of course, are times where it is cold. But for the most part, it is pretty warm down there. But up in Jersey, we can get some pretty cold days in the spring and fall. So I don't think everyone will be wanting to get absolutely soaked on a water ride up here all the time.
Yeah, and before Flash was built where it was, I always thought one of those would be a cool fit back where the Music Express used to be and kind of into the area of where Spinmeister was, if you're familiar with that area of the park. But I do just in general think that Great Adventure would benefit by having more water rides because I remember a time where there were 4 and definitely the Log Flume and Roaring Rapids get their share of lines. So I think another water ride would help that.
Moving on. Oops. Do you see Dark Knight being replaced in the future? At this point, if it's not something that's a maintenance issue, I can see them just keeping it around for the long haul. And Dark Knight doesn't really have any maintenance issues. I mean, maybe some of the theming in there breaks, but they'll usually just leave it and then replace it eventually. So I don't really see any reason for them to replace it. Next up, I am going to cut the stream a little short. It's coming soon, not yet. But a lot of the questions at the bottom, because there are just so many, I can't guarantee we're going to get to all of them down there. So just keep that in mind, because we were talking about Texas for quite a while. Let's see. I still think the best Rapids rides are Popeyes at Universal, Roaring Rapids at Magic Mountain, and Thunder Canyon at Dorney. I agree with 2 out of 3. Roaring Rapids at
Magic Mountain?
Yeah, we did. I don't know if you did. I know
I probably did. I probably didn't. I don't remember. Oh yeah. It's up by Tatsu. That's right.
Yeah. It's good. I mean, I wouldn't put it in the
Popeyes was
upper
great.
echelon, but yeah, Popeye's the best themed one in my opinion, and the fact that it gets you soaked.
That's
as
the
well.
ride we were on when your dad like straight up asked. I think they were from Israel, like the people straight from Israel. Like,
Yeah.
So is it bad over there? Like, and he meant like COVID because it was
Jesus.
2020, but it was 2020, right? When we
It
went?
was 2021.
2021, and like my immediate reaction was just when he asked.
We
him
were
that.
asking about the pandemic though, just you know,
Right.
how it is around the world. But
Yeah.
Thunder Canyon at Dorney definitely gets you the most wet out of any rapids ride I've been on. There's nothing that compares in terms of just getting you absolutely drenched. Roaring Rapids at Magic Mountain was good. I don't think I'd put it in the top 3 though. It was more on the same level, like probably a bit better than Great Adventures Roaring Rapids, but not top 3. I don't think.
Now that you say that, we definitely did ride that. I remember it now because I'm like, oh, wow, there's this called Roaring Rapids. Wish ours would be renamed to Roaring Rapids, and then it
lo and
happened.
behold, I will say the signs for the one at not Great Adventure, at Magic Mountain in Over Texas are so much cooler than ours.
Oh,
Over
yeah.
Texas specifically, it's this massive like rock structure with this waterfall. Really, really cool. I think Great Adventures used to be kind of similar to that, but not anymore, unfortunately. Let's see. Because Flash is a last minute addition, I think 2025 to 27 will be a big coaster for Great Adventure. Definitely. That's 100%. Which is the better element? King Daka's launch or El Toro's ejector hills? Got to be El Toro's ejector.
Yeah.
There's nothing else like it. I'm not going to answer when do you think Flash will open. I talked about that earlier. What rides do you recommend for me to ride at each Disney and Universal?
There's so many.
You got to ride everything, honestly. There's some skippable rides, but for the most part, you got to ride
all the coasters at like both parks, like all the parks. The only coaster at those parks that I would like crap on is Slinky Dog is stupid, but I mean I'd still ride it.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, everything at Universal is great, other than Fast and Furious.
Yeah, and Kong isn't great either.
But it's whatever. I mean,
at least the
it's fine.
animatronic at the end is cool. Let's see. It's called Rocky Mountain Construction, so they should have the first drop off a mountain.
Okay, Joe. Sounds good.
Why not?
Sure.
Let's see. I think our Pandemonium coaster might be taken down. I presume you mean Fiestas. See, that's been said for a while, but when we went on that backstage tour, I realized just how much land they still have to work with back
I didn't
there.
realize that either when we were walking
There's a
behind all
ton of
that. There's a ton of land near the quarry wall over there.
They don't need to get rid of Pandemonium at all. Honestly, I think if they put a major coaster back there on the boardwalk, that would kind of bring a lot more attention to Pandemonium because it's usually not that crowded over there. And I know there's been plans supposedly about an Intamin going back there, which I think would be perfect, whether it's a hyper or multi-launch.
Yeah.
Either or would work great.
It could just literally wrap the wall. It could just go along the side of the wall.
That would work perfectly. Let's see. All right, this I strongly disagree with. Runaway Mine Train: A Great Adventure has the best trains out of any of the mine trains out there, and I will die on that hill. They are the least restrictive and most comfortable lap bars by far. They're different than all the other ones. The ones on Roadrunner are very similar to what you find on Magnum and Gemini. And those restraints, as much as I like those rides, suck so bad because they feel like they grab onto you and they just keep pulling down and pulling down. On Runaway Mine Train: A Great Adventure, the restraints are very nice and comfortable. You're not going to get jammed in. You have room to breathe, and you get to enjoy that airtime that's on that ride. So I hope that never happens. Let's see. I love Fiesta, but I think the next area they need to fix is the small area of the boardwalk. Yeah, I do agree that the boardwalk is the weakest link of the park, but out of all the boardwalk areas in any park, it is by far the most convincing because being from Jersey and constantly being at boardwalk parks feels just like a boardwalk park.
It actually looks like a boardwalk.
Really did.
I mean, especially the Pirates ride, that really adds to it because that truly feels like something right off like Maury's Piers with Dante's Dungeon or something.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect fit. Pandemonium is a little odd for a boardwalk section, but
yeah, but you think of the coasters that are at. You think of the coasters that are at like a Jenkinson's or like a.
It's just a scaled up version, essentially.
Yeah, it's like if you got that next step up from what you would find at one of those boardwalks, it's essentially that. So I think it fits the bill nicely.
Yeah, absolutely. Who's a good one? When does everyone think Top Thrill 2 will reopen? Bob, since that is your home park, what do you think?
You know, the fact that there's not much going on at the site, like, I think leads everybody to believe that they're completely re-engineering the wheels and the wheel bogies and the fins to figure out, like, you talk about like the shimmy that was going back and forth, even though you don't really pay attention to it. Obviously, that was causing the damage to the fins that they were talking about, and I don't know. Like, I hope before the end of the year, but like, I'm not gonna. I can't really put a date on it. I'd love to say within a month or 2 or 3, but right now it's not looking good.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it's not going to reopen this year, but as time continues to go on, like I thought originally it'd probably be open by now. I didn't think it'd make Coaster Mania, but I thought it might open a little later. But we're
Right.
still not seeing that much movement. And at this point, I mean, we're getting close to July. If it's not open by the end of July, I think they definitely have some issues. This does make me wonder, like, what the relationship is like right now between Zamperla and Cedar Fair. Because Bob and I, we were both at Media Day, and we got to talk to members of both Cedar Point's team and Zamperla's team. They were all so excited about this attraction. The ride is fantastic. I really, really do hope it reopens as soon as possible so more people get to experience it, because it really is a great attraction. But this does make me wonder how things are going to be going forward, because there's rumors that maybe Canada's Wonderland is getting a Zamperla launch coaster, and maybe other parks are going to look into it. And if there's issues with this project, I really do have to wonder, maybe Cedar Fair is going to pull the plug on some of those contracts and think about, getting away from it. Because you look at what happened with the original Dragster and Intamin and I-305 and Maverick, there are issues with all of them. And that is why ultimately they stopped working with Intamin. Same thing with RMC. They had issues with Steel Vengeance. They had issues with Timbers and Railblazer, and they don't really work with RMC anymore. Cedar Fair is very strict about the manufacturers they work with, and when they have issues with someone, they tend to just move away. So, I hope that doesn't wind up happening, because I think Zamperla did great work with Top Thrill 2. But if they can't get it open soon, I think that definitely could be something we're looking at in the future, unfortunately.
Has it recently tested again, though? Did I hear that, or am I imagining that?
It did at some point.
They tested it like 2 separate times in the past like month, like either in off park hours.
Okay.
But it makes me wonder if they're like putting on some new design wheel bogies or something and testing it and seeing what's going on that way, or I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Well, either way, I was trying to plan to get out there for that this year, like even if it was just for a weekend. But obviously, I got to wait, and hopefully by Labor Day, that'll be my official prediction.
Yeah, if I were you guys, I would hold off on planning trips if that's what you're really looking for, just because we don't know when it's going to open, unfortunately.
I do still need the Wild Mouse, though.
So do I. I went there for Top Thrill 2, but did not get the Wild Mouse yet. Let's see. Some Buc-ee's talk. You guys should do a vlog at Six Flags New Orleans. I don't think so. I don't feel like getting trespassed. Let's see. What's everyone's number one bucket list coaster?
Janica.
Yeah.
I got to pick a new one because, honestly, this was it. And I'm going to use this as an excuse to show this again. But don't let that distract you from the fact that I do need a new bucket list coaster. So give me some time. I'll think about that.
I mean, if I'm thinking other than Edgenica, because that is kind of like the de facto answer, I would say Batman Gotham City Escape is definitely up there.
That's a good one.
I mean, if we're thinking more realistic, because I don't have any plans to go to Japan. I mean, Europe's more realistic at some point in the hopefully near future. I'd say like Zadra maybe.
Zadra looks really good. Untamed also looks fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Probably looks like
I love Untamed's trains. They are so cool. Brian.
Yep.
Super chat.
Thank you, Brian, for the super chat. Tom, who are you pulling for the Stanley Cup? Can you refresh me on who's in it right now?
So right now it's Edmonton, the Edmonton Oilers, and the Florida Panthers. On one end, you have Edmonton with the possibility to end Canada's Cup drought. On the other half, you have Florida looking for their first ever Cup. I'm really not angry with either team winning right now. I mean, Edmonton destroyed Florida last night, so it's looking. But Florida has a 3-1 series lead, so it's looking like it will be Florida. I'm truly not mad at whoever wins, but Edmonton's kind of been playing dirty this series, so it's very attractive to hate them right now. So I'll give slight edge to Florida. There's Devils alumni on both teams, so happy for them. But either storyline is great.
I do want to touch on something real quick. I see at the bottom of the chat. I wonder why nobody mentions Dynaconda. I think honestly it's because Japan is much more realistic to get to than China. I just don't really see myself going to China to ride coasters. It's not really something I can see happening. But Dynaconda honestly could be better because it has a few extra rows, which would make the back row and all that a lot more intense. I've been accepted and going to a college to study engineering. Congratulations. I wish you the best.
Oh, hold on. If you could hold that thought, Colin. Someone said Iron Gwazi's my bucket list coasters. How could I forget? Like I'm trying to go to
You
Florida.
forgot Iron Gwazi.
Oh, hold on. Sorry, my finger nicked the super chat button. I'm trying so hard to get to Florida this year, so put Velocicoaster and Gwazi on the top of that list because that's what's most realistic.
Definitely. It's probably either my 1 or 2 in terms of rankings. It's kind of hard to pick exactly, but it's either that or Velocicoaster. Let's see. Also recommend visiting Knoebels, super charming park. It is. I've been there a couple times now, and there's no park like Knoebels. Truly, it's very unique. Roadrunner Express is so criminally underrated. I mean, it's fun. It's not the best mine train. I think Thunderation at Dollywood, not Dollywood, Sword Dollar City is still that.
I agree.
But Roadrunner, it has the same kind of design language as Thunderation. I just wish it was longer because, you go through that helix and you go up top and you start coming down and you're like, oh, this ride's going to just keep going. And then you hit the brakes full speed. It's like, it could have been a little longer, but it is still a really, really good mine train. Much more intense than a lot of the other ones. Let's see. When will they put the Flash logo on top of Flash Vertical Velocity? That will probably happen after the ride opens. It's a little delayed in shipment, so it'll get there eventually.
Would that not be the official topping off, though? Like, I realize the track work's done, but, like, is it
that,
true?
I guess technically, yeah. That would be the full 172 feet there. Let's see. Oh.
There we go.
Thank you, Brian, for another super chat. Greatly appreciate it. One last question, Bob. Are you planning to go to Great Adventure?
Probably for Flash if it doesn't conflict with one of our GOCC events or the other trip I'm taking in July. So
Bob's
I'll put it out there before then.
And good night, Brian. Thank you for joining us for the stream. Let's see. Next up, where are we at? Six Flags should add more water coasters to every park they own. I agree. I think a water coaster is like something that should be at every single water park. I know New England, Great America, Fiesta Texas, and America have them. There might be more, but I'm pretty sure it's just those. And the one at New England is much older than the other ones. Welcome, Johnny. Let's see.
Oh, speaking of Johnny, I know he was at the park today to celebrate Bacon Chris's birthday, so shout out to Bacon Chris. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Bacon Chris. I know you're probably not here, but happy birthday. Hope you had fun. Over Texas or Fiesta Texas? It's Fiesta. Over Texas is a great park, but you can't compare them.
They're both really good, though.
Yes. Let's see. Do you guys think Thrillathon will happen this year? I have a feeling no, because all the projects going on. As of right now, it is not looking like Thrillathon is going to happen. As you said, there's a lot of projects going on right now, and they're already spending a ton of money on everything they're doing for the 50th, and it's such a packed summer. There really just is not enough room for a Thrillathon event. I do plan on hosting some form of a meetup at some point this summer. I don't know what that's going to look like or when that's going to be. But there will be something at some point. I promised early on in the year that there would be a meetup, and I'm keeping that promise. So keep an eye out. It will happen at some point. If not during the summer, definitely during the fall or winter. It will happen this year. I promise you guys. Let's see.
Hollywood Nights.
That brings back memories. Hey, Collywood, when is the next time you'll be at Great Adventure? I have absolutely no idea. My trips to Great Adventure tend to be really last minute, and I truly cannot call them out in advance. I have no idea. Do you like Mr. Freeze at over Texas or St. Louis better? So it's
Over
interesting
Texas.
because they're the same ride, but they ride very differently. The one at over Texas is a lot smoother, and the one at St. Louis is a lot rougher. But I think that makes the one at St. Louis a lot more intense. I mean, Mr. Freeze at over Texas is still super intense, and I got the chance to ride it more this time around because in 2020 I only rode the over Texas one once, but I rode the St. Louis one like 4 or 5 times. So I had a much more better experience with that one. But having ridden this one, I think the smoother ride is probably a little more enjoyable, but you do get a slightly more intense experience on the St. Louis version.
And I've only ridden over Texas.
What are your thoughts on the current trend of over-complaining in the community? Do you think this will affect parks like removing a ride? I don't think it'll affect parks in that regard. I think it'll more so affect like coaster enthusiast events like Rodeo, because when people just complain and complain and complain and have nothing nice to say, obviously the parks aren't going to give back to you and do good things for you because they have no reason to if you're just going to complain. So I think it's really important to make note of really great experiences you have like we did at Rodeo. That way parks know to keep it up, that they're getting a great response from it. And that's how we just continue, the circle of positivity in the community, which I think we definitely need a lot more of.
Yeah,
I was
and I
curious
don't.
to see after the shit show of Coaster Mania this year if they would consider going back to. You have a super chat in a second. They would consider going back to
Put a pin in that, Bob.
coaster clubs only, but they're not. They're staying with open registration.
We have a super chat, Bob.
Thank you,
Hi,
Kaylee,
Kaylee.
for the super chat. Just want to say that
Rodeo,
I
Texas, and
enjoyed
theme
hearing
parks
y'all's
coasters in
thoughts
general.
about
Well,
Rodeo,
thank you.
Texas and parks.
Glad we could share it with everybody because it was a unbelievable event.
Yes, again, I cannot recommend to you guys enough. If you've never been to Fiesta, or even if you have been, make plans for Rodeo number 5 next year. It's
Do not
going to
miss
be
this.
amazing. Let me see if I can
But
find.
we were talking about complaining, and what I was going to say is that I don't think it's a current trend. Like, I think it's just such a constant, and it's an unfortunate constant too. And I hope that I never get in a complaining competition with your run-of-the-mill coaster enthusiasts because I will lose so bad.
Yes,
But,
that is very true.
Quit complaining. Go to something like Coaster Rodeo because it's such a perfect event. But just enjoy what you have. Is it's so
There we go.
difficult. Like, can you just enjoy something without like complaining about it, please? I beg you.
Yeah, people seem to have a very hard time with that, which is very unfortunate. But moving on, do you have any plans to attend Coaster Fest at Over Georgia in August? Not right now. If I had to guess, if I do wind up down there, it'll probably be for when Georgia Surfer opens, whenever that winds up being, so I can get some content for you guys. Because typically at the coaster events like that, you're not able to really film, or, well, at least for me, not really able to organize that because there's a lot going on with planning those events. And in order to get the content for you guys down there, I'll probably do a separate trip. Let's see. I personally think the station for Flash will have no theming, but theming the queue line, that's probably accurate. When do you think Live Flume will open? So I know they're planning on having it ready for the 50th. I don't know if it's going to happen, honestly. I mean, they have a lot of work to do. So
Half
this
the
point-
turntable is down to like studs.
yeah, we'll see what happens. I know they're working hard. The crew is absolutely huge that's working on it too. So we'll just have to wait and see. Sup, Tom? Met you years back at Great Adventure when I was with Sean O'Leary. Hope to see you one day at the park again.
Likewise, I mean, I'm there enough, so you'll have to find me. Typically go a lot after work, so.
Colin, I know this is probably confidential. Where do you work? That is indeed confidential. Sorry. Let's see. Texas boy right here. Hope y'all enjoyed your Texas trip. It was an honor to meet y'all and Rodeo. Absolutely. It was a great trip.
If the only thing we can complain about really is the heat, I mean, that's minimal.
Yeah.
I survived. I felt like okay-ish in the heat, but then I got back home and just realized how terribly sunburned I was from the water park on Sundays.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, you know what? Maybe the heat was a little bad.
I'll show you guys just how ridiculous the tan was.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
Brutal.
Yes, very brutal. Mock rides or Zero? Mock by far. I love the Zero family coasters, but Mock does some amazing things.
Wicked was cool.
That's pretty much that, and Impulse at Knoebels is pretty much their biggest attractions.
They did fucking the one at Busch Gardens Williamsburg.
Oh yeah, Verbolten. I forgot about
Yeah.
Verbolten.
Yes.
Yeah, Verbolten's great too. But I mean, you got Time Traveler, Copperhead Strike, not Starfall Racers, Stardust Racers.
Stardust Racers.
Yep, I can't believe that happened.
That's the thing.
Yeah, we should probably talk about that. For those of you that don't know, that Universal Epic Universe in Celestial Park, they have that massive dueling multi-launch mock coaster.
It's going to be so good.
It's going to be by far the best coaster there, maybe even the best coaster in all of Florida. And it was originally set to be called Starfall Racers. But then there was a copyright dispute. I forget what the company
It was an educational software, I think.
Right.
It was something along those lines, like a computer
And somehow Universal lost. I never would have expected that. So now they're rising to be called Stardust Racers, which is not as great of a name, but
still good.
it is still a good name. I feel bad for them though, because they probably got to change like all that custom signage they made for it and everything. It's such a pain in the neck.
I mean, at least it wasn't way later when they already had like merch and stuff made, though.
That's true. We're gonna cut off questions. So, like I said, I'm not gonna get to all of them. I apologize, but I'm gonna stop answering questions at 10 o'clock sharp. So I'm gonna move through these as fast as I can to get as many in as possible. But we'll see. How are the operations at Fiesta? They're pretty good. They're not Great Adventure.
Not bad, yeah.
Great Adventure, I still think, is the top dog in terms of regional theme park operations, and that's not home park bias. I mean, I've traveled to many parks this past summer and even summers past. Nothing compares to Great Adventures. Let's see. I heard from a video that Jeffrey Siebert was hinting at Superman getting rethemed / repainted and Iron Rattler might get extended. I don't see either of those ever happening. They just redid the whole DC Universe area, which Superman is in. So now that whole area is much more cohesive. So maybe it gets repainted. I could see that for sure. But a retheme, never. And Iron Rattler getting extended, there's no reason for that because they can't market it as a new ride. So I just see no reason for it.
Unless they want to give Superman the Bizarro treatment. But I think we're past that.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. Would you prefer Riddler's Revenge or Scorcher as the best stand-up coaster? Well, I wish I could tell you about Riddler, but it was closed when I was there. So
I thought them both.
What do you think?
So I like Scorcher better. So like Riddler is really intense, but I don't like stand-ups in general, and it beat me up. Of all the ones, we always talk about like when they did they were doing the conversions, like Patriot, like they converted, and it's like whatever. And if they converted Vortex, it'd be really bad. If they converted Riddler to like a sit-down coaster, it'd be actually really good. But I think most people would disagree with me. But I like Scorcher the best mainly because it's like super smooth, even though it's 25 years old now, and it doesn't, the taint tickler doesn't beat up your boys.
True.
I do like Scorcher a lot, but I prefer the intensity of Green Lantern. So I imagine if I got to ride Riddler, I probably would have loved it because I really do like Green Lantern, which I know is unpopular, but have to wait till next time. And this is probably going to be, well, I'll do one more question after this. What merch did you guys get from your Texas trip? So
I got a Rattler shirt.
I got this. I got a Texas Giant shirt. I got a Fiesta Texas shirt, Fiesta Texas magnet, an Over Texas magnet, I think, and a Bucky shirt, a 4th of July Bucky shirt.
Well, I just so happen to have all my merch right here. I got some nice made to thrill pins. Fiesta was doing a really cool series of anniversary pins, so they sold this as a set. I noticed this did sell out during the event, and then they had like a little companion set to this, so this all makes one thing. There's some magnets. My new thing, I think, is getting magnets from parks that look the same. So this is both Texas parks, but on the same design. I have the California ones too, so both California parks on the same design. I think that's it. And then I spent way too much money on Bucky's merchandise, but that was expected. So no shortage of good stuff.
Bob, how about you?
I already answered.
What'd you answer?
I said I just got, the only thing I bought was the Iron Rattler t-shirt.
I will say I wish they had IRAD shirts in large. I guess all the larges got bought up before I could get to them because I only saw either mediums or XLs or double XLs. But I'm going to hope that the medium shirt that I bought works because it did look kind of big anyway.
I bought a large on Saturday night, Tom.
What? Where?
In the IRAD store.
No, that's a lie. Like they didn't have anything in a large.
No, Phil totally got me his discount. I totally bought it.
That is malarkey right there because
wow.
I did not see anything. I was trying to get the the stick figure shirts they love to do.
Yeah.
They had XLs and like double XLs, and like even the like some of the designs I weren't crazy for did not see a large.
Wow.
So well, there's always the online store.
The final question of the night: any Savannah Sunset reviews? So I haven't heard any, I will say that, but I got the chance to talk with Brian and Chris from Great Adventure, and they're basically doing a soft opening as of right now, which I saw coming because they didn't have all of it ready quite yet. But from what I understand, is majority of the tents are done. So I'm going to try to get on the safari as soon as I can because they said that you get an excellent view of the resort now from the safari. I'm going to try to get some kind of access to the resort so we can see what it's like. I'm not sure how, I'm not sure when, but I do want to try to do it at some point. I'm really excited about it because I think this kind of starts a new chapter for Great Adventure. Tom and I got to experience, it was yesterday at Hurricane Harbor, we got to experience the new cabana setup they have. Truly felt like a resort. And that's not me saying that because it was given to me. I genuinely was shocked by just how good of an experience it was. I mean, they had people coming over to you constantly to check on you. They had people making drinks in front of you, and you had your own cabana, your own space. It was really resort.
The fact that even your dining plan redemptions were brought to you like table service style.
Yep.
Like normally, you just go up to the register, you say, "Hi, I'm getting like chicken strips on the dining plan," and then they just hand it to you. Like, no, they brought it to you. That was super cool.
And me being the merch lover I am, I was very happy to get to keep this Great Adventure Resort bucket they gave us.
Oh yes, the bucket.
Very happy about that. But Savannah Sunset, if it's anything like the service we got at Hurricane Harbor, I'm sure it's going to be fantastic, like a true resort. And the fact that you have one of the best amusement parks in the country right there, I'm really excited to see how this all pans out because I imagine hotels are probably in the pipeline for the park if Savannah Sunset proves to be a success. Maybe we'll see year-round operations if they can get the staffing for it or the approval from corporate. I think Great Adventure is a really bright future, and it starts with Savannah Sunset. But with all that being said, that is going to conclude tonight's action-packed stream where we recapped Rodeo, which was a phenomenal event. And I do want to apologize, like I said earlier, for the kind of slow rollout of the videos from there. It's just very difficult to try to catch up in addition to keeping up with everything going on at Great Adventure plus other stuff in my life. So trying to get them out as fast as I can to you guys. I should have the first day of Rodeo and hopefully the second day out at some point this week. So we'll see how that goes. But that is it for this stream. Tom, I'll plug your socials one last time.
So yeah, follow me on Tom's Tracks 99. You might even see this cool picture that I took and got canvassed on my accounts pretty soon. Might be a nice wallpaper Wednesday. It was kind of, shot with that in mind. So keep an eye out for that. Follow me on the Instagram.
Bob?
BK photo page on everything. I don't know what my summer plans are yet, but I do know I will be at Indiana Beach, Adventureland, Lost Island, and Worlds of Fun in the latter part of July.
Nice. Well, guys, that is it for the stream. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye, guys.